We are back again. It is Finnigan 40K Surrounded series. This is our last battle. I'm not going to say ever, but for a while. And the two Imperium forces, Space Marines once again, that are representing the Imperium are the Raven Guard, who you are seeing on camera right now. Probably the most numerous unit that we've had so far. They're coming in at 475 points. They have two 10-man scout units, an eliminator squad with sniper rifles and probably a las fusel, I think is what it's called. And then their leader is Aethon Shan. This is a very good force, I think, for that first wave of the skittering small enemies. There should be a lot of bolt fire coming down. We've got heavy bolters, shotguns, missile launchers. The scouts also have a sniper, so I'm hoping that they're going to do quite well. Coming on to the second wave and third wave, I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes. They are partnered up with one of the other last legions of the 20. We have the Salamanders here. They are coming in at 465 points, made up of two Infernus squads, which are also going to be fantastic for the skittering enemies. We have aggressors that have the flame variant, of course, because these are Salamanders. We have eradicators with the melta-guns. This time there is a multi-melta in there, and then another Infernus squad. And this is being led by Volkan Hestan, who's going to hopefully give some hand-to-hand combat punch. Not sure where I'm going to line these guys up on the table yet, but we'll get to that in a second. They both come in with the Oath of Moment on the two fronts, so they're going to be able to have their Oath of Moment target. They're going to be able to get that reroll for the hit roll, and they're going to have the +1 to the wound roll because they are codex specific and they follow it to a T. So I'm going to be setting up these guys soon. I will cover where they are, probably set up the Tyranid as well right away so I can get that all done in one shot. And then we'll be back in a second and we're going to be kicking off the first wave. Same Tyranid force. The only difference is going to be that we have, instead of the Tyranofex with the Rupture Cannon, it's going to be the... what's it called? He's got the this, not the spore mines, but the flesh borer hives. I wanted to have more shots coming in at lighter armored targets for the side of the hive mind, so that's what we're doing there. But yeah, I'll get these guys set up, show you where they all are, and line up the Tyranid across from them, and we're going to get this one going. Here we have it. Both forces have been set up for our final battle here of Finnigan 40K Surrounded, at least for this chunk of battles. The Salamanders are over on the further side of the table, and we have the Raven Guard a little bit closer here, so I'll break down where I put everybody, kind of why, and what's going on here with both sides. This way, I'm hopefully going to save a bit of time, but we'll see what happens. So we have our two 10-man scout squads, both on a flank each. So we have... These are incredible models, too. They remind me of, like, Colonial Marines or something from Aliens. They look sick. Very, very cool addition. Not the greatest toughness, armor okay-ish, weapons okay-ish. They don't have bolt rifles. They have bolt guns, but they still do have 2 shots apiece. So this is our bolt squad, and they're fighting off against 20 Hormagaunts on this side that the hive mind is going to be throwing at them. I made sure that those Hormagaunts are set up so they can leap and bound over that wall to make sure that they're in hand-to-hand combat, however many survived. In the middle here, we have the Barbgaunts and the Ripper Swarms that are facing down Aethon Shan and the Eliminators up in the tower. The Eliminators do have the precision abilities, so they're going to be able to put some firepower down onto the Barbgaunts, hoping to kill a few. With my experience, the Eliminators have not always been great, so I'm going to have to look over their weapon profiles and I'll assign them kind of the best for this type of battle. Over on this side, I'm going to call them the Raven Guard Shotgun Scout Squad. So these guys mostly all have shotguns. There's one sniper there on the right, and there is a heavy bolter in here for a little bit of additional firepower. But the shotguns do each have 2 shots apiece. And the sergeant does have a chainsword, bolt pistol, so not too bad for taking out the small skittering enemies. They're also facing a wall of 20 Hormagaunts. Apologies if I said termagants with that other group, they're Hormagaunts. Over to the Salamanders, we have Infernus Marines here, which are absolutely just made to be able to take out things like Hormagaunts and termagants. The Eradicators are right beside them with their melta rifles and multi-melta. They are facing another wall of 20 Hormagaunts. Over here, hopefully going to be an epic fight. We have the winged Tyranid Prime once again up on the flat top rock, staring down Vulcan Hestan, the leader of the Salamanders force. We're going to see what happens there. It is, of course, going to be the Imperium move first, but that's going to be a very interesting hand-to-hand combat fight if it gets to that. Hopefully he can soften up that winged Tyranid Prime a bit to be able to take it on when they get into hand-to-hand. And to finish everything off, we have another wall of Infernus Marines here, so 5 in their squad with aggressors here with the flame variant, so the flame gauntlets. Also going to be fantastic for laying down lots of fire, hopefully good rolls, automatic hits because they're all torrent weapons, and then those power fists as well for hand-to-hand combat against some of the stronger enemies coming in for wave 2 and 3. It's going to help a lot. They're facing a smaller wall of 10 Hormagaunts, but behind them is the Spore Mines and the Biovore, which is going to be either firing Spore Mines into the facility, or if you can see, it's got those aggressors right in its line of sight to be able to fire its usual weapon at them. So we're going to get into the first wave here right away. Super excited. Let's see how 2 of the last legions can do. I believe they're number 18 and 19. Also wanted to mention that with 11th edition coming around the corner, Games Workshop seems to be bringing back Primarch models. And these 2 Primarchs are definitely still alive. So Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard is kind of stuck in the warp, and he's turned into like a big raven demon creature, but he's good, and he's chasing down Lorgar. So if we are in the Maelstrom and in the warp, it would be very, very cool to see Corvus Corax, but I don't know, he might kind of remain more of a shadow. And then on this side, which I believe is probably more possible, is Vulcan coming back from the... Well, he's not dead. He's still kicking around somewhere out there. He's a perpetual like the Emperor, so he can regenerate himself and always pretty much stay alive. He's immortal. So we're going to see if he comes back too. But of course, I'm really hoping for Rogel Dorn. We'll see if that comes about because we don't know what happened to Rogel Dorn after his fight after the Horus Heresy. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, enough chat. Let's get into this one. It is Finnigan 40k, surrounded, final battle, Raven Guard and Salamanders versus this massive Tyranid horde of 2,450 points. Let's see how they stack up, how many models survive, and how many casualties they get in total. Let's do it. All right, so we're going to get right into the tray for this one. I'm going to start on the side of the Salamanders this time, actually. This is going to be the Infernus Marines and the Eradicator Marines taking on that wall of 20 Hormagaunts. I think I'll probably finish off the rest of the shoots for these guys. Then we'll flip it over to the Raven Guard, get one of their units shooting to see how that goes, and then sum up the remainder of their shoot turn at the end of that. And then we'll flip it over to the Tyranid. So we are going to start right away. I was going to start with the Infernus squad, but let's do it with the Eradicators. See what they can do here. Maybe the 3 Eradicators together can take out this entire wall. We can stay positive. Let's see. Again, the Imperium dice are going to be black. Tyranid are going to be red, but we may have to go back and forth, just mattering if there's a ton of dice that we have to grab from the tray. And it's always good to have an accurate amount to make sure that we're doing everything okay. So the Melta Rifle and Multi-Melta, I'm just going to check abilities here too really quickly. So each time a ranged attack made by a model in this unit targets a monster or a vehicle. So that's not the case yet, but that's going to be good for later on. I'm also going to do a measurement here because we know that the Melta weapons have the additional damage of Melta 2 for each if it's half range. So the Melta Rifle and the Multi-Melta both shoot 18 inches. And these Hormagaunts are actually within that 9. So I'm going to be picking up that Melta 2 bonus, which is fantastic. But let's get rolling first because it is only 1 attack per. It's a heavy weapon. They haven't moved, which is another plus to this. So we're going to be rolling for the Melta Rifles first. So here's the first one hitting on a 3+. And this is actually our Oath of Moment target. I'm going to make it. And we have the heavy ability. So this is actually going to be a 2+ to hit. Thank God I can reroll that because of Oath of Moment, so that's a hit. This one is also going to be a 2+. Perfect. It is Strength 9 versus Toughness 3. This is going to be 2s to wound. Wow. I can add 1 on there. And that ability as well is not going to help in this case. So one of them just, I guess, was overheated or something right off the bat. It's a -4 to AP though for this. So the Hormagaunts do not have an invulnerable. It would bring them up to a 9+ save. It's impossible on 1d6. So now we're going to see how much automatic damage we're going to get. And it's 5. So from that multi-rifle blast, it's spattered over 5 Hormagaunts. So I'm removing those models right now and going to put them over on my table. This is actually the last fight, so I might just, no, you guys want to see the casualties, so let's set them up nice here. I don't want to have them falling over while we're doing that, so. Man, and these are the older models too, so they don't stand very well. There we go, got them locked in. So that was the Melta rifles, they both fired. Sorry, one fired, one didn't. This is now the multi-Melta, so we get 2 attacks. It is a 3+ because of the heavy. This is usually a 4+, so here we go. Oh shit, and I actually get Melta 2 there because it was short, so that's actually 7 that are dead. So I'm glad I caught that before I kept going here. So I'm just adding 2 more models. So with that 1 attack from the Melta rifle, that is 7 Hormagaunts dead. Incredible. Let's see if the multi-Melta can do it as well. So 3+ here. Got both. Fantastic. Strength 9, toughness 3, 2s to wound. I can add 1 to the roll here if I need to, and I do. So that is now a 2. -4 to AP. They can't make the save, so this is D6 damage. And then there's going to be an additional 2 here as well. So this is, each have gone through, each are a D6. Wow, that's insane. So we have 10, 11, 12. That might be almost the rest of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So with that attack, there is 1 Hormagaunt left out of that original 20. I'll set up the rest of those guys later. There's too many to do in one shot. So I don't even know if the Infernus Marines are going to be needed here, but we're definitely going to use them to try to get this going. And I just wanted to show you guys as well kind of how the Pyroblaster works. Very, very good weapon. And I'm going to be firing with all 5 of them here. So it's a D6 roll, very similar to a Flamer if you're a Guardsman player. Or, you know, there's Thousand Suns, Zinchian Flamers and stuff too. So each of these is a D6 roll, and that's going to tell us how many attacks are actually coming down from the Infernus Marines. So we have 6, 12, 16, 20, 21 attacks that have come down. And this just shows you why these are absolutely incredible weapons for taking out the small skittering enemies like Hormagaunts and Termagants. I'm just switching to my red dice here because I know there's 20 of them instead of having to count for 15 minutes, and I have 1 black at the bottom. So these are hitting automatically. They're a strength 5 versus a toughness of 3. So this is going to be 3s to wound. And I can re-roll this. I'm not going to. I don't think it's going to be needed. Watch me have like the worst roll of ever. But so I'm going to remove those. These are all through. It is a strength 5 versus toughness 3. That's going to be 3s to wound again. Or sorry, that already wounded. So it's a -1 to AP. That brings our Hormagaunt, lone Hormagaunt up to a 6+ save. He was able to save 1. There's no extra rolls here for the Hormagaunt or anything. So he... Well, just from this alone, so this was saved, but this attack here from the Infernus Marines would have taken out 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 of the Hormagaunts as well. So that was an incredible round, probably the fastest amount of these skittering enemies that have been killed. I'm going to do the remainder of the Salamanders. I'm going to come back and show you guys how that goes, set up my dead Hormagaunt models here so we can actually see what the kill tally is. And I'll be back in a sec to show you guys how the rest of those Infernus Marines did and the aggressors over on the other side of the table, and also how Vulcan Heston did against the Winged Tyranid Prime. Vulcan Heston does have a ranged attack. It's not incredible, so we'll see how that goes, but I'll sum everything up here in just a second when we're back at the table. Salamanders turn 1 is complete. It finished up there with Vulcan Heston and the Gauntlet of the Forge. He was able to do some pretty damn good damage to the Winged Tyranid Prime and brought it from 6 wounds down to 2 wounds. So if that thing does jump down into hand-to-hand combat against him, which it probably has to do because it has no ranged attacks, he's facing off against an enemy that is much, much weaker. On this side, probably the most fantastic first round by any chapter so far against the Hormagaunts. We have not yet seen the Raven Guard, but we'll see how this goes. The Infernus Marines and Eradicator Marines that are here, as we saw on the tray, were able to wipe out all 20 Hormagaunts. Over here, they were facing half as many, but the aggressors with the flame gauntlets and the Infernus Marines here, the aggressors actually were able to kill 8 of the 10 Hormagaunts, and the Infernus Marines cleaned up the rest. So that is it for that. The Biovore is still back here. It was just out of range for the Pyreblaster, so it is going to be able to shoot this next turn for the Tyranid. But before we do that, we're going to see how the Raven Guard do against more of these little skittering enemies. Hopefully as successful as their brothers or their cousins, the Salamanders. But we'll see how it goes. So over to the tray, we'll get 1 unit shooting here. I think I'm going to do the Shotgun Squad and Heavy Bolter. See how that goes. It'd be kind of cool. And then from there, it's going to flip back over to the Tyranid, but I'll get all the rolls done. We'll come back and sum up in just a sec. Over to the tray. Just like that, back in the tray for the Raven Guard Scout Squad. I'm going to call them the Shotgun Squad, their turn. Scouts have always been super cool models. I remember they were one of the very first kits that I ever picked up when I started playing back in 97, 98. And I remember this one scout that like survived pretty much all of the Orc and Gretchen attacks from back in the day. And he was, I don't know, really, really cool. But I've always loved scouts since then, and these new models that they brought out are absolutely incredible. I might just want to do kind of a last stand with them. I think it would be super cool against a bunch of Gene Stealers or something. So there might be a couple more Raven Guard scout packs in my future. We'll have to see. But anyways, let's see how they do in combat before I give them, you know, too much smoke up their butts. We're going to start off with the Sergeant's Bolt Pistol. So they don't have the best weaponry. Their armor's a 4+ save, and their toughness is a 4 like a regular Space Marine, but they do have bolt guns, as I mentioned at the beginning. So these are the old school, like 1st-gen Marine bolt guns. They're not bolt rifles that are held by the Primaris that have the incredible like -1 to AP. Still going to be a lot of shots here, coming in at strength 4 for the most part, but let's see how it goes. So this is the bolt pistol first from the Sergeant, hitting on a 3+. And that is a 4, so that's good. It is strength 4, toughness 3, 3 to wound. Got a 6, that's fantastic. 0 to AP, so it's going to be regular 5+ save for our Hormagaunts. Did not save, so right off the bat, the Sergeant has plinked one in the head and taken one out of that running line that's coming at them as quickly as possible. That's the new Hormagaunt models too, so they actually look pretty big compared to the Scouts. They're a lot smaller than the Primaris Marines too, because they haven't gone through their full training. So the lore behind the Scouts is like, you get pulled from a world, you know, some kind of death world or something. They put you through the worst training and probably torture of your life to see if you can survive it. You go through some surgery to give you your second heart, your fused rib cage, everything else that a Space Marine would have. You get your injection of your Primarch's blood kind of deal. I forget what the sack's called, but that's what the apothecaries pick up. Again, guys, Space Marine, not my number 1 army. I'm a guardsman. I'm an Imperial Guardsman guy, but Space Marines are the mainstay for 40K. So after you kind of prove yourself as a scout, you move into the lower companies of the chapter, and from there, you know, nowadays I'm guessing you'd go through your Primaris surgery as well if you were able to survive it. So a lot of scouts don't survive because they have insane missions after already grueling training, and a lot of humans don't even survive that training trial. So pretty crazy to be a scout. There's a few as well. Sergeant Tellerion or something of the Ultramarines, he's been a scout sergeant for like his whole life, and he's brought up a bunch of the like now character models of the Ultramarines. So I think he even trained like Marneus Calgar and a few of them. I think it's Sergeant Telion, something like that. But you guys can check him out. He's an Ultramarine. I think they still have his model. But yes, back to this. So you guys have just been staring at a dice tray. I apologize. Bolt guns now. So that is not the case here. They do, unless they do have some at the back. Just checking my guys. No, they all have shotguns. So these are the Scout shotguns. Astartes shotgun. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 dice. I'm going to use my red again because I know exactly how many of those I have. So it's a lot easier because I think there's 26 or something in my black. It's weird. So this is hitting on a 3+. It does not have any heavy as well to it, so it's got to hit on a 3. This is not my Oath of Moment target here either. I haven't called that out yet. I'm probably going to give that to the Eliminators maybe to make sure that their shots are ringing true and I get as many rerolls as I possibly can because those rifles can do some damage. But here we go, 3+. So no reroll here. There's a lot through. This is looking pretty good because we still have the sniper rifle. We also have the heavy bolter that's carried by that scout squad. So there's still a couple extra shots coming in. This is strength 4 versus toughness 3, so this is going to be 3s to wound. So 2 did fall off. We got 2 2s there. Not high enough. Can't reroll those. These are through. I'm just going to use these dice again to save for the Tyranid. So that's going to be the regular 5+. There's no AP to the Astartes shotgun. And they've killed some more. So 1 was saved. However, there is 3, 4, 5 Hormagaunts that have been killed. So that is really good. Not as great as our Infernus Marines, taking care of pretty much 80% of the Tyranid that are on the table, not just on their side, because I think they took out more like 95. So that's it for the Astartes shotgun. Did pretty good. When those Hormagaunts start to rush in, though, I'm a little worried. The Scout Sergeant does have the chainsword, but the rest have close combat weapons or combat knives, and they're just not as potent as a Primaris Marine with a knife that can use that thing like a railroad pike coming into your head that quickly, or the enemy's head. So last but not least here, or no, second last but not least, is our Scout Sniper Rifle. It is a heavy. He did not move. So this is going to be a 2+. Didn't get it. I can't reroll. That sucks, but there it is. And now, last but not least, we do have the heavy bolter. So this is going to be 3 shots. Hopefully that all hit. It is usually a 4+, but with heavy, it's a 3+. And another one fell off. 2 are through. It is a strength 5 weapon versus toughness 3. 3s to wound. Both are through. That's great. It is a -1 to AP. So this is going to be 6+ saves for the Hormagaunts. Both have been failed, and that's 2 damage per. So that heavy bolter has just chugged right into that line. 4 more Hormagaunts are dead. I'm going to remove them from the back line. However, there looks like there's still about 10 or 11 left that are going to be jumping that wall pretty soon to take on those scouts. So I'm going to continue rolling over here on my side. I'm going to do the other scout squad that's mainly bolters. They have another bolt pistol. They have a missile launcher that I'm going to load up with frag, and then there's actually a heavy bolter there too, so that unit might do a little bit better. We'll have to see. I have Aethon Shan as well. I'm going to check his ranged weapons, hoping I can fire down if it's precision, maybe take out some of those barb gaunts. The Ripper Swarms are out front though, so if he doesn't have precision, he's going to have to take them out first. And then my Eliminators definitely have precision, and I'm going to be using them as my Oath of Moment receivers, and the target for this one is going to be the barb gaunts. So it's going to be the Eliminators and Aethon Shan with the bonus of the Oath of Moment. Hopefully firing down those barb gaunts. If not, Aethon Shan will be taking on the Ripper Swarms. I might fly him into. I got to check his stats, see what we're doing. But first things first, I'm going to go do the shoots and let you guys know what I'm all about after that. Quite a good round from the Raven Guard as well. We saw this one in the tray. That is the Scout Squad with shotguns mainly. They were able to take out pretty much half the Hormagaunts that were here. These are the big Hormagaunts too, the newer models. The Eliminators actually probably did the best shooting I've seen in a while. One of them absolutely missed, but the Las Fusel and the other Las Carbine was fantastic, or the Bolt Carbine. And they were actually able to kill all but 1 Barbgaunt, and that last Barbgaunt has 1 wound. Over here, a little less productive, but they were able to take out again almost half of that whole, of the whole Hormagaunt squad, and that's the Bolt Gun Scout Squad here of the Raven Guard. I decided actually to fly Aethon Shan in. I want to try this guy out in hand-to-hand combat. He's got an okay ranged weapon, but he flies 14 inches, and his claws are twin-linked, so I want to see what he can do to get him warmed up here against some Ripper Swarms. So we're going to go over the tray and finish up this first turn for the Imperium with that. So we'll head over there now. Okay, here it is. So this is going to be Aethon Shan versus the Ripper Swarm bases. There are 3 of them. That is 12 wounds in total. I have used Kavan Shrike before, which is, I'm guessing he might not be the chapter master for the Raven Guard anymore. That might be Aethon Shan, but he's at least one of the first captains. So I want to see what this guy can do in hand-to-hand. Brand new model for me. I haven't tried him yet. He has the Claws of Severax that are his weapon. It is 7 attacks, so pretty potent here. The big reason why I chose this though is because there's an additional damage per attack that makes it through. So it's 2 damage per this rolls well, it's a possibility of getting up to 14 wounds delivered to those Ripper Swarms, which would take them out. I've actually been rolling quite well, so let's see how we do. 7 attacks, hitting on a 2+. 2 fell off. Sadly, this is not my Oath of Moment. I made that the Barb Gaunts, and actually that was another reason why the Eliminators did so well, because I got a couple of extra additions to my dice there, which was able to really do that damage. We still have 5 through though. It is Strength 5 versus Toughness 2, so this is 2s to wound. That's weird because like a 2 is really, really low. I think if you get 6s here, usually it counts as like an automatic hit. I don't use those rules. Again, way too many rules in Warhammer 10th edition. We'll see what 11th edition has in store if that's coming down the pipe. These are twin linked anyway, so if I hadn't rolled a 2 here, I could have rolled again. It is a -2 to AP, so I'm gonna grab 5 red dice to keep this differentiated. -2 to AP, actually the Ripper Swarms cannot save because they usually have a 6+, so that would bring them up to an 8+, which is impossible. They're not in cover. 2 damage per, so I don't even have to roll these. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So Aethon Shan has taken out 2 full bases of Ripper Swarms, and he has reduced the last base to 2 wounds. I'm just getting a token over here on the other side of the table, making sure that that's getting tracked so I don't forget. So he wasn't able to kill them outright. Still pretty fantastic against 3 bases of 4 wounds each. Hoping that that's going to continue when he starts taking on higher models with, because that Strength 5 might be okay against like Von Ryan's Leapers, but if they get to attack him back, we're going to have to see what happens. So now it is the Ripper Swarms that are going to be fighting back here. It is 6 attacks with their chitinous claws and teeth. Just grabbing those dice. Hitting on a 5+. So they're kind of gnawing at Aethon Shan's boots. He's got like pretty crazy like raven claw boots. It's pretty sick. So 1 went through. It is a Strength 2 versus a Toughness of 4. So going to need 6s to wound here. They did wound. Wow, okay. 0 AP. I swear if he gets hurt here, this is going to be crazy. I'm just going to see if he has a feel no pain or anything, because he is a new model for me. It does not look like that's the case. So this is going to be a 3+ save for Aethon Shan. He better not lose a wound here. Woof. Okay, good. That would have been really bad. My Raven Guard commander losing to a Ripper Swarm and having 1 wound taken from him. So that concludes that fight. Aethon Shan has flown back up to his Prometheum tank, and it's flipping back over to the Tyranid really soon. I'll give you guys just a look at the board, see who's going on there, and then we'll get this stuff going with the combat and see what's going on. So yes, over to the Tyranid for their turn 1 of wave 1. So pretty quick one to sum up here. There's only 2 models on this side of the table for the Tyranid. So the Winged Tyranid Prime has gone right in off that flat top rock. It is taking on Vulcan Hestan, the commander of the Salamanders force here. It is pretty busted up though from his range attack. 2 wounds left. It's going to get the initiative. We'll have to see how that goes. And then we do have the Biovore back here that has those aggressors in its range and in its line of sight. So we're going to see how that goes. Over here, no surprise, the Hormagaunts have jumped the Scout Squad with bolt guns. This, I'm hoping, isn't going to be too bad, but because they have that 4+ save, there's the -1 AP. It brings a usual Space Marine from a 3+ to a 4+. This is going to be a 4+ to a 5+. So that might be harder saves to make, and there's still a lot of Hormagaunts there to put some wounds down. The Barb Gaunt back here is still pretty capable. I think he's going to be firing into Aethon Shan now as opposed to the Eliminators up top. Try to wound the commander of the Raven Guard, see how that goes. And then very similar to the other Scout Squad, we have the Scout Squad with shotguns here that have been swarmed by Hormagaunts. And again, that 4+ save with the -1 to AP might be pretty rough. We'll see how it goes. We're going to start over with the Salamanders, though. We're going to do the Vulcan Hestan hand-to-hand combat after I do the Biovore shoot. And then we're going to switch it over here. Probably get one of these squads in on the tray and then do everything else off and just come back and sum everything up for you guys. Alrighty, over to the tray once more. Just finished up the shoot there. I wanted to get the Biovore done first, so I decided to fire the Biovore into the Infernus Marines because they have a lower toughness. They have a toughness of 4 compared to the aggressor toughness of 6. The Biovore did not roll great. It's got a D3 attack. I only rolled a 2, so I was able to get 1 attack out. And it wasn't able to wound. So the Infernus Marines and the aggressors are still all fine. More important here, though, is Vulcan Hestan versus the Winged Tyranid Prime. And that Winged Tyranid Prime is a very, very good hand-to-hand combat model. I just have to make sure that I have Vulcan Hestan's wounds here. He has 5, so I'm just putting that beside him. There we go. The Winged Tyranid Prime, as we saw, is down to 2 wounds. So it is going to start with the Prime Talons. It's going to be 6 attacks coming in against Vulcan Hestan. I really hope he can survive this, because this is the commander, and pretty good in hand-to-hand combat for some of the stronger models coming out. But let's see here. So hitting on a 2+ for the Winged Tyranid Prime. All are through. Nope, 1 is not through. No rerolls are allowed. So we have 5 attacks. Strength 6 versus toughness 4, 3s to wound. And not rolling great for the Tyranid today once again. So the Imperium have been getting some good rolls this entire battle series that I've done. So 3 are through though. It is a -1 to AP. That's going to bring Vulcan up to an invulnerable, or no, he's got his 3+. So Vulcan usually has a 2+ save. I should say Vulcan Hestan, because Vulcan is their Primarch. So this is Vulcan Hestan making 3+ saves here. And all 3s. So any that have gone that had gone through there would have been 2 damage per. So that's really good, because the Winged Tyranid Prime is quite a bit bigger than a Space Marine, probably a head taller. Strong model, but now Vulcan gets to fight back, or I should say Vulcan Hestan, so you guys don't get confused. So it's 6 attacks. It is the Spear of Vulcan hitting on a 2+. It was not the Oath of Moment, so I can't reroll those. Removing that. Strength 6, toughness 5, 3s to wound. Okay, 1 fell off. I'm hoping this is going to be enough. So we have 3 attacks that are through that were high enough to hit and wound. Now we have the saving throw of the Winged Tyranid Prime. -2 to AP from the Spear of Vulcan. No invulnerable save for the Winged Tyranid Prime, so this is going to have to be 6+ here for it to be saved. Didn't save any. That is 2 damage per, so we have 2, 4, 6. That would be enough to kill the Winged Tyranid Prime outright. So the Salamanders, I don't think I need to show you guys the board. There's nothing left over here other than the Biovore. So I would give the gold star to the Salamanders for their first turn. They've taken out every single Tyranid model on that side of the board, except for the Biovore and the Spore Mines. It's going to be removed because it's no longer in the game. But that was fantastic. Best round by far. That is, we had the 10 Hormagaunts over there, the 20 Hormagaunts. There was the Barb Gaunts, Ripper Swarms. Well, they were on the side of the Raven Guard, but the Salamanders did really well. I'll sum everything up at the end, but we're going to switch it over to the Raven Guard. And I'm going to be doing the Barb Gaunt shoot, and then we'll get onto the Hormagaunts, and I'll probably get one of those in the tray. And just like that, all those shitty Tyranid rolls, one finally rolled okay. It was the Barb Gaunt, which isn't the best weapon with the Barb Launcher, but it was actually able to take a wound off of Aethon Shan. It was in range, in line of sight. Aethon Shan has gone from 5 wounds down to 4. In this round, I'm not too worried because it's almost over, but later in the battle, if this guy's going to have to fly around and try to carry some of the weight for hand-to-hand combat, because a lot of their army is not very hand-to-hand combat savvy, it might come back big time. What we're going to do now, though, is the Scout Squad. So it is the Scout Squad closest to the camera, my shotgun Scout Squad, I called them. They're going to be taking on the Hormagaunts that are there. I'm just going to count how many Hormagaunts there are. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's nice and easy. We have 30 dice we're going to roll because they have 3 attacks per with the Hormagaunt Talons. So I'm just going to grab 3, 6, 9, 10. So this is a mix of black and red dice. Try to keep it in the tray for a little bit to show you guys that. These are the Hormagaunt Talons. They're hitting on a 4+. So here we go. So I'm going to remove anything that's not a 4, and I'll... Oh, that was a 4, I think. Fuck, this is what happens when the tray is so tight. And I meant to bring in my brown one a while ago, my bigger tray, but I never did. This thing's taped to the bottom too, so taking it off, it sometimes like rips stuff, so I don't want to do that. Anyways, a few attacks did fall off. All of the ones that are in the tray are through. They are strength 3. The saving grace here is the scouts at least still have a toughness of 4. So this is going to have to be 5s here rolled to wound. Here we go. Much tougher roll to make. Let that guy spin. So that's a 6. I'm going to really try hard not to hit any dice. There's also a glare from my pot lights above. I'm making a lot of excuses, but it's tough to see sometimes. So those are all through. So this is not boding great. Those are 5s and higher. So those attacks have all gone through. There is that -1 to AP. I'm going to use these dice to save now. So usually with a Primaris Marine, you'd have a 3+ save. With a -1 to AP, it's a 4. So it's not as bad. That's still like a Kazarkin or like an elite Imperial Guard. This, however, is a save of 4 that's becoming a save of 5, which is the flak armor of Acadian Shock Troop or a Death Corps of Krieg Imperial Guardsmen. So we need 5s here. Luckily, it's only 1 damage, but let's see what happens. So I rolled 3 5s or higher. So we have a 6, a 5, and a 5. Those have been saved. This, though, is the problem. So even if we had rolled our Primaris Marines, the Hormagaunts are still really good with that -1 AP of taking, even, you know, if you get lucky Terminators out, if you can get past that toughness. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of that scout squad that have been killed. I'm removing them right now. That is over half of that unit. So that is a very big hit to our shotgun scout squad. They are going to be able to fight back here, so hopefully that kill tally is going to go up a little bit more before they're removed, but not great. Not great at all. So we're going to start with the Scout Sergeant. It's going to be the Astartes Chainsword hitting on a 3+. There we go. 4 strength versus toughness 3. This is going to be 3s to wound. All those are through. I'm still rolling super well. There's no AP. No, there is AP here, so that's good. They do have 1 AP, so that brings our Hormagaunts up to a 6+ save. And 5, 2, 2 are not high enough. 1 was saved. 3 are dead. It's 1 damage per, so they were able to do a bit of a counterattack, kill 3 of those bigger Hormagaunt models. I'm just popping them over on my Tyranid death table here. Show you guys that tally when this turn's done. Next up, there's difference here of close combat weapon or combat knife. I'm thinking the combat knife would be more of like what a Reaver Marine would have. So I'm going to go with close combat weapon here. It also makes sense because the close combat weapon of a normal Primaris is 3 attacks. This is 2 attacks, which makes sense for the scouts. So I'm going to grab, there's 2, 4, 6, because we already used the chain sword. So there's 3 that have the close combat weapons hitting on a 3+. There we go. Yeah, and if you guys know what the scouts wear, if you guys or use, if you guys are using scouts, let me know. Strength 4, toughness 3, 3s to wound. All through. 0 to AP, but this might be enough, just because of the shitty save the Hormagaunts have. So they need a 5+. And 2 were saved again. Not rolling the worst for the Tyranid today. These 2 are through, so 2 more models have been killed. The Scout Squad is down to 4 members, but they were able to take that initial Tyranid Hormagaunt wall down from 20 to 5. So they killed 15 of them for 6 of their guys. I'm going to continue to roll here. The Barbgaunts already shot. I'll let you guys know what happened to Aethon Shan. I'm going to move over to the other side where my other Scout Squad are with the bolt guns. I think there's less Hormagaunts over there though, so I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit of a better outcome, but I'll show you guys the wrap up here in just a sec when turn 1 is done, wave 1 after this turn. So the dust has settled, the battle is quiet for the moment, the Tyranid are licking their wounds and they're coming back for their second wave after trying out this Imperium defense force. Incredible turn by the Salamanders. No losses and tons of kills. I'll show you guys the kill totals in just a second. Vulcan Heston did get wounded. He is down to 5. Or no, he's not actually, because he doesn't start with 6. So he's still good. and all of our salamanders over here are in good shape too. It's possible, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the Raven Guard might not have enough Marines after the second go, so the third wave might be salamanders with whatever surviving Raven Guard there are left, because you guys didn't see this. I did it in the tray. They were able to kill a few more Hormagaunts, but 36 attacks came in. They were the smaller models, so I thought there was less Hormagaunts, but there were actually more. There are 5 scouts remaining in our bolt gun scout squad. We have Aethon Shan. That's where I screwed up. He's the one that lost a wound. He went from 5 to 4. Our eliminators are still at full strength, safe in the tower for the moment. And then over here, another huge blow to the Raven Guard. They have 4 scouts remaining of the shotgun squad. So Aethon Shan might have to hold up a wall during the second turn or join one of these scout squads to kind of give them a little bit more support. But the Raven Guard are quite beat up. I was actually really hoping they'd be able to kill more of the small Hormagaunt models in that first rounds. They'd be facing less in hand-to-hand. They did okay, but you can see what happens between, you know, a squad of 5 Primaris Marines taking on 20 Hormagaunts and a squad of 10 Scout Marines taking on 20 Hormagaunts. Big difference. But yeah, so we're going to keep going with this one. Wave 2 is coming out here in just a sec. I'll show you guys the casualties, however, from both sides. They're just right over here. So this is the first wave that was killed. 20 Hormagaunts, almost another 20, 4 of the 5 Barbgaunts, winged Tyranid Prime, another big chunk of Hormagaunts, 10 Hormagaunts, and 2 Ripper Swarm bases. This is the casualties for the Raven Guards. They lost 6 in their one squad, 5 in their other. And this is the second wave that's coming out. You guys have seen them before, led by that Swarm Lord with that incredible hand-to-hand combat, twin-linked Bone Sabers. Got the Tyrant Guard, got tons of Von Ryan's Leapers. We have the Pyrovore, and we have the Raveners. So if the Raven Guards survive this turn, I'm going to be very surprised. They might have a couple of models left at the end of this. Those Eliminators are pretty safe, but if Aethon Shan's going to keep flying around and battling these guys, he's going to be chipped away at pretty quick. And then we still have the third and final wave after that. So I'm going to get the Space Marines regrouped here. We're going to make sure that I have my forces put out to be able to strengthen the walls to the best of my ability. I may even cross over some Salamanders. It hasn't happened yet, but I might need to have some Salamanders over with the Raven Guard. No rules against that. I've just been doing them one side at a time because those Marines have been able to hold off. So we will see what I can do here, and then we'll come back and get that second wave started, show you guys where everybody is, and we'll take it from there. See you in a little bit. The second wave of Tyranid are down. This is our Von Ryan's Leapers, Pyrovore, Raveners, Tyrant Guard, Swarm Lord. Just doing a quick spin around the table here for you guys, and then I'll get into each area and what's going on. Over here, 3 Von Ryan's Leapers, not many required for I think what's going to go down here. The Scouts and Aethon Shan are going to have to do some pretty good shooting to take care of these things. That toughness 5 is going to be tricky for bolt guns. We do have the heavy bolter there, and then Aethon Shan's weapon. And you know, Aethon Shan was called over by Vulcan in the Vox, and he said, "Yo, cuz, do you need some help over there for my Salamanders?" And Aethon Shan said, "We're good for now, but maybe next turn." So we'll see how that happens. Over here, 3 more Von Ryan's Leapers. The Scouts really don't have much space to go either, and these things jump 10 inches. The Imperium will get that first turn as per the rules for this surrounded battle series, but again, they've got to get some really good shots in there and hope that maybe a frag missile will do the trick. A crack might be a little too individualistic. We'll have to see. Over here, I'm feeling a little bit better about this, but the Raveners have popped up, and they have the Aggressors and the Infernus Marines on this side in their sights, so that's going to turn into another hand-to-hand battle. They just popped right out of the ground in front of them. I don't think Space Marines would be kind of caught off guard, but they're ready to rock and roll, so we'll get some flame on them. And then over here, very tough. We have 3 more Von Ryan's Leapers, the Tyrant Guard, and the Swarm Lord that are on the Eradicators, the Infernus Marines, and Vulcan Heston. Vulcan Heston does have the Forge Father ability, which is going to max out these Infernus Marines and the Melta Marines, the Eradicators. We're going to see how that goes. The Pyrovore has also propped itself up on the hill, so that is another problem because it can rain down some torrent fire of its own onto the Salamander Marines. And actually, I was saying at the start the Salamanders might have to help out, but actually the Eliminators up top here, they're probably going to be taking some pot shots, but they might also be able to help their Salamander cousins in firing down towards Volkenhesten or towards the aggressors and Infernus Marines to give them a hand. So I'm going to have to look at the board, see what I'm doing, just because the Raven Guard are so depleted right now. I think I'll be putting those Eliminator rounds down on the Von Rhein's-Leapers, but they don't have the best shots. You get one per pretty much. They are heavy, so it's going to be a little bit easier to roll, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to start with the Imperium shoots. I don't think I'm going to be crazy enough to get anyone in hand-to-hand here, because even Aethon Sean flying in by himself against 3 Von Rhein's-Leapers, not a great idea. And also that would limit their ability to shoot them because they'd be scared of shooting Aethon Sean in the back of the head. So over to the tray, we're going to get the shots going. I'll probably do the same thing I did last time. Start with the Salamanders, do one of the shoot phases here, and then move back over to the Raven Guard. And I think I'm going to start with this one here. We're going to see how it goes. I really have to strategize my firepower because those Hive Tyrants with that toughness, they're going to be my main target for the Multi-Melta and Melta rifles. And then the Infernus Marines, if they have the range and enough shots, they might be able to chip some wounds away, but that's going to be one hell of a hand-to-hand combat fight. And we've seen the Tyrant Guard and Swarm Lord cut units apart. So if they get depleted here too, that third and final wave of the big bad Tyranid models are going to be even harder. But yeah, over to the tray, we'll start with the Salamanders. We'll probably get this chunk going, shoot the rest off camera, sum it up, go flip over to the Raven Guard, get their shoot in, sum that up, and then we'll move into the Tyranid. So beginning of turn 2, this is the Salamanders, the Infernus Marines, Eradicator Marines with Volkenhesten. I just want to read you guys that data sheet ability, which is Forge Father. So in your shooting phase, which is right now, select one enemy unit within 24 inches of and visible to this model. Until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Adeptus Astartes model makes a ranged attack with a Torrent or Melta weapon, which is this exact wall that he has in front of him, that targets that enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll. So this is going to be our Oath of Moment target. That's the Tyrant Guard, the Swarm Lord, because they're one unit. So I'm going to be putting, I think, all of my firepower on them. That does leave the Von Rhein's-Leapers open, but I'm hoping that since the units are cohesive here, the toughness that is of the Eradicator Marines, the Melta Marines, will be able to withstand the attacks coming in from the Von Rhein's-Leapers. So a little bit of a gamble here, but I think it's going to pay off. We'll see how it goes. And these Salamanders have been on absolute fire. So we're going to get this going. So that means that with Oath of Moment, I can reroll the hit roll, I can add one to the wound roll, and I can reroll the wound roll as well because of the Forge Father ability. So Volkenhesten is a fucking super character for the Salamanders. That's incredible. So we're going to start up. You know what? We'll do the Infernus Marines first. And that's just because there's going to be less shots coming from the Meltas. So I'll get myself kind of warmed up here. See how it goes. There's still a toughness 8 though to the Tyrant Guards, and the Pyroblasters are a strength 5. So let's see how we do. This is going to be our initial 5 rolls for the Infernus Marines. So this is going to show us how many attacks they're going to get in total. We're looking for high numbers here. Not bad. So we got 10, 14, 17, 20 attacks. So I'm going to switch out for my red dice because I know I have 20 of them instead of taking all your guys' time and counting while we're live on the camera. So these automatically hit. So that's not great for the pyro weapons there with the Oath of Moment, but it will help with the Melta and the Meltas. So this is a strength 5 against a toughness 8. We're going to need 5s to wound here. At least it's not doubled up, so it's not a 6, but 5s. And we got a few, so that's not too bad. I'm just going to be very careful here. I don't want to knock any dice over, because I think I did that earlier during one of the turns. That was not high enough. So these are all through, which is actually pretty phenomenal. It's still a -1 to AP. So I'm going to flip these over. This is now the save for the Tyrant Guard. The Tyrant Guard do not have an invulnerable save. The They do have the Feel No Pain 5+ ability, though, as long as a character model is leading them, and that is the Guardian Organism ability. So that means the Swarm Lord is leading them. They're going to be able to reroll any wounds that aren't made here, and on a 5+, they're going to be okay. So this first one is going to be 4+ to see. So they actually made a lot of saves. So these don't have to be rerolled. Those were saved. These here went through, but since they're that Guardian Organism protecting the Swarm Lord, the Hive Mind is kind of telling them that they got to keep fighting on. And these have to be rolled again. So they haven't wounded yet. They have the Feel No Pain 5+. And just like that, 2 more were picked up. So that sucks. This is through, though. It is 1 wound. So at least one of the Tyrant Guard has gone from 4 to 3. I'm hoping that that's going to help out when I get the Melta-Guns on them. A little worried. We'll see how it goes. So I'll remove that. We're going to now move to Vulcan Hestan. I'm going to get his ranged profile up here. So he's got his Gauntlet of the Forge. This is a D6 + 3. So let's see how many attacks. Hoping again for a very high roll here. Not great. Still 2 dice. We're adding 3 to that. So that's the amount of attacks we're going to get. Again, this is a torrent weapon, so it hits automatically. We don't have to worry about that Oath of Moment roll. It is a strength 6 versus a toughness 8, so it's still going to be 5s to wound. And he didn't get any. However, he does have that ability, and I think it's for units, so we're going to reroll for him, hoping for 5s here. And even worse, 3 1s, a 2, and a 4. So hopefully this isn't a bad omen for what's to come. But Vulcan Hestan has not been able to injure the Tyrant Guard. That toughness is really high. So this is moving over to our Eradicator squad. This is where that Forge Father and the Oath of Moment is going to be huge, because we'll be able to reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll and add 1 to one of the reroll to one of the dice for the wound roll as well. So I'm going to start off with the Melta Rifle. We'll do this one at a time. A little superstitious. Usually a 3+, it's a 2+ because it's heavy. They have not moved. Please get it. Okay, so that doesn't have to be rerolled. That's good. This one is strength 9 versus toughness 3. So this is a perfect Tyrant Guard cracker with the Melta Rifle. We need a 3 to wound. Got it. And I could have rerolled that if I didn't. This is where it's fantastic. It is a -4 to AP. The Tyrant Guard is going to have that Feel No Pain 5+, but it can't currently make the save. So I'm going to switch to a red dice. This has to be a 5. Right now it's auto-wounded, but it does have that Feel No Pain because of the Tyrant Guard, so 5+. Didn't get it. This is D6 damage coming from the Melta Rifle. Really hoping for a high roll here. That's not good. So once again, so at least that one Tyrant Guard is from 3 to 2, but this is too many enemies to worry about right now. And the Pyroblaster is going to be able to, or the Pyrovore is going to be able to fire down too, so that might wound some guys, and then they're going to be just absolutely swarmed here in a second. But it's not over yet. We still have the other Melta Rifle and the Multi-Melta, so let's get some good rolls here. It's also Melta 2 because it's within 9 inches. That's going to be additional damage. I'm glad I caught that. Here we go, 2+. Got it. Don't need to reroll. Strength 9 versus toughness 8. We need a 3. Didn't get it, but I can reroll. Got it with the 4. It is that -4 to AP. It can't save, but it does have the Feel No Pain 5+. And it fucking saved it. So this is maybe the TSN turning point here for the game. If you guys are Canadians and know the TSN turning point, we'll see. So that didn't go through. Now Multi-Melta. This is our last shot. Hitting on a 3+ because it is heavy, usually a 4+. I can reroll this because of Forge Father and Oath of Moment. Or sorry, just because of Oath of Moment. So we got both through. Strength 9, toughness 8, 3s to wound. This is what I can reroll because of Forge Father. Got both. That's what I need to see. So 2 attacks have gone through. Let's see if the Tyrant Guard are going to make that 5+ Feel No Pain. They did not. So this is what we needed. If this had come in from all 3 weapons from the Eradicators, absolutely fantastic, but I'll take at least the Multi-Melta. So this is just like blapped all over the Tyrant Guard. kind of like in Ghostbusters 2 with their goo guns, but this is like the heat of the sun, so it's going to hopefully melt through them here. Since 2 attacks are through, I get to roll a d6 damage each, and then there's a melt to 2 added on top of that, so we're hoping for a really high roll here. Not bad. So we have 6 plus 2, that's 8, 9. That has killed 2 of the Tyrant Guard, just like that. And that last one is down to 1 wound. So, not too bad. If they had all hit, you guys can see what would have happened there. That would have been absolutely fantastic. I'm just moving my Tyrant Guard over to my figure table to show you guys the casualties later. So that is it for Vulcan Hestan, his Infernus Marines, and the Eradicators. Not too bad, but now they face down a Tyrant Guard, Swarm Lord, and 3 Von Ryan's Leapers. That's going to be for the Tyranid turn, though. I'm going to continue to roll here for the other side of the table. So that is the Aggressor Marines with the Flame Gauntlets versus the Raveners, and they also have another Infernus squad beside them. I'm hoping they're going to do a little bit better here, but they're not going to get that benefit of the Forge Father from Vulcan Hestan. So I'll come back, sum that up in just a sec for you guys, and then we'll switch it over to the Raven Guard. So there's the battle we saw in the tray. The Tyrant Guard were absolutely blapped with that Sun Hot Melta spray from the Multi-Melta Eradicator in the middle. If those 2 other Melta rifles had fired and hit true, I think it might have even peeled some wounds off the Swarm Lord, but that's not what happened. So there's still 3 full healthy Von Ryan's Leapers. That's going to be 18 attacks. Swarm Lord with a whole bunch of attacks in the Tyrant Guard. So Vulcan Hestan's going to have to use that spear, get in there. There's also the Pyrovore up top that's going to be raining down some Tyranid acid fire, whatever the hell it shoots. And then over here, the one that you guys didn't see in the tray, we have the Aggressors and the Infernus Marines. They were able to reduce the Raveners down to 2 models. One still has 3 wounds, the other has 1 wound. These are also very potent in hand-to-hand combat. They have the Twin Link ability. The Aggressors with the Flamestorm Gauntlet, still a good unit, but that is a Strength 4 against a Toughness 5, so it's harder to hit. But the Infernus Marines with that Strength 5 versus the Toughness 5 did a lot better. Before we get to the Tyranid, though, we are going to see if the Raven Guard can chip any wounds off of these models coming in. So we have our Bolt Gun Scout Squad remaining. We have Vulcan Hestan with the Shotgun Scout Squad. They're also facing Von Ryan's Leapers. And then we do have the Eliminators up in the Prometheum Tower. And I think they're probably going to be helping out their Chapter Master, who is Aethon Shan, to reduce some of the wounds from those Von Ryan's Leapers to soften them up for the hand-to-hand combat to come. So over to the tray, I think I might shoot the Eliminators. That'd be kind of cool. And then from there, I'll do Aethon Shan and the remaining scout troops in off the camera. And I'll come back and sum it up in just a sec. So let's see if these Eliminator snipers can get some kills in here with their weapons. The loadout that I've given them is the Bolt Sniper Rifle for 2 of the models, and then there's the Las Fusil for 1. I haven't actually checked their war gear options, so let's just see here. The Eliminator Sergeant's Bolt Sniper Rifle can be replaced with one of the following: 1 Instigator Bolt Carbine or 1 Las Fusil, so that is the Las Fusil. And then all Eliminators in this unit can have their Bolt Sniper Rifle replaced with 1 Las Fusil. So I kind of did it earlier where we had the Bolt Sniper Rifle, so I don't know why you would choose to do the Las or the Bolt Sniper Rifle over it, because it's got less strength, less AP, less damage. It's got precision, that's why. So I'm going to still use the same. It's going to be the Bolt Sniper Rifle times 2. I wish I checked that before. And then 1 Las Fusil. So we'll start with the Bolt Sniper Rifles. It is a heavy. These guys are elite, you know, superhuman Marines. So I'm hoping we can get this here. But it is an Oath of Moment target, I'm going to say. So that's going to help Aethon Shan, the Eliminators, and the Scout Squad with shotguns in regards to firing at those Von Ryan's Leapers to hopefully finish them off before they pounce. So this is going to be hitting on a 2+. Both are through. I could re-roll that if I wanted to. Strength 5, Toughness 5, Force to Wound. I can add 1 to this because of Oath of Moment. So if I can find the 4. There we go. So both of those are through. It's a -2 to AP. Von Ryan's Leapers do have an invulnerable save of a 6+, so this is it right here. They have failed both. They do not have a feel no pain, so that is actually 3 wounds per. So I went snap, snap, got them in the head. That is the end of 2 Von Ryan's Leapers, so this is exactly what we want our eliminators to do. I'm just putting them over on my casualty table. So this is a very good start, and it's helping Aethon Shan and those scouts. They might not have to face anything, but I shouldn't speak too soon because there seems to always be an issue with one of my rolls. So this is the last fusel from the Sergeant. It's going to be hitting on a 2+ because of the heavy bonus. We got a 3. Great. Strength 9, toughness 5, 3s to wound. And even though that is a 2, I can add that because of Oath of Moment. So it has fired. It is a -3 to AP. Once again, a 6+ save. Usually be a 7. It did not save it, so this is D6 damage. We need a big roll here, at least 3. Fuck, and that's what I mean. So I'm hoping those scouts will be able to take it out. So the Von Ryan's Leaper went from 3 down to 2 wounds, so it has been wounded. And I am going to now go off camera, shoot with the remaining scouts, so the ones with Aethon Shan with the shotguns, and then I'll flip it over. And when we come back to the table, hopefully that Von Ryan's Leaper is dead and the other 3 are wounded. Be back in a sec and let you guys just wait a sec to see how that goes. So a okay round from the Raven Guard. I was absolutely floored when I saw that Aethon Shan, the chapter master of the Raven Guard, I believe he is, Kayvan Shrike no longer is, has a heavy bolt pistol as his weapon. What do you think that did? That did nothing. It's terrible range, terrible strength. Give him some kind of, I don't know, needle pistol or something. Anyways, we saw in the tray the Eliminator Marines were able to do some damage to those Von Ryan's Leapers. I brought it down here. Aethon Shan did nothing because he's got a fucking heavy bolt pistol. I fired the shotgun, and it was actually the heavy bolter that finished off the remaining Von Ryan's Leaper that was there. So a good round. That means that these scouts survived the 3rd wave. Over here, the remaining scouts with the, I'm calling them our bolt gun scouts, fired in. They were able to kill 1 Von Ryan's Leaper with the crack grenade. So heavy bolter didn't do anything, bolt gun didn't do anything, bolt pistol didn't do anything, but the heavy, or the missile launcher with the crack missile was able to kill 1 of the Von Ryan's Leapers, so that was fantastic. This is switching over to the Tyranid. I'm going to go off camera, come right back, show you guys what they've done as a movement, and then we're going to get into the tray because this is pretty much an entire hand-to-hand combat wave for the Tyranid. So I usually move them live, but I don't want the camera to be bumping all over the place, so I'll do it real quick and be right back. Surprise, motherfucker. I think you guys were probably expecting this to happen, but the Von Ryan's Leapers have leapt over the wall. Those scouts did not have any space to back up, definitely within 10 inches. They're now facing 2 hungry Von Ryan's Leapers that want to get some biomass for the hive mind. The eliminators up top here are just going to have to wait and see what happens. They can't fire. They just fired, and they might hit one of their buddies if they do. Over here, the remaining 2 Raveners are taking on the Infernus Marines. The aggressors are not attached right now, so that is going to be the 2 Raveners versus the Infernus Marines. Good luck, guys. Hopefully that goes okay. The Pyrovore is not going to be able to shoot because the Von Ryan's Leapers and the Swarm Lord and Tyrant Guard were so hungry that they wanted to jump right into hand-to-hand combat. So we have that going on here. I'm definitely going to be rolling this one in the tray. I think I'll probably start with the Raveners, sum that up on the other side, and then move this over here. Get a nice shot of that line of fighting going on there. Let's do a nice quick zoom. Actually, my wireless mic receiver is right on top of the zoom. There we go. So let's see what Vulcan Hestan can do. He is attached to the Infernus Marines. He is not attached to the Eradicators. They were able to use his Forge Father ability because of the 24-inch within range or line of sight, so that was okay. But he is not going to be able to help those Eradicators. They are alone versus the Von Ryan's Leapers over on this side. Pretty crazy, the green and the purple. It looks like the Joker or something from Batman. It's pretty sweet. And then over here, yeah, Vulcan Hestan will hopefully be able to max out the Infernus Marines because they need it against the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord. And hopefully this isn't their fate. our dead flesh Terror Terminator. So over the tray, let's get this started. It's going to be hand-to-hand combat. I will do that roll with the Raveners first, let you guys know what happens while on the camera, and then we're going to get to this incredible battle here. So about 3/4 of the Salamanders versus Tyranid hand-to-hand combat is concluded. The Infernus Marines, I'll show you guys in a sec on the table. They were able to kill the Ravener during the counterattack, but they did lose 2 Marines to the 2 Raveners that were there. If there had been 5 Raveners there, I don't think the Infernus Marines would have survived. So there are 3 remaining. The aggressors were not in hand-to-hand combat, so they did not have to worry about it, but those Infernus Marines got beat up. The other melee hand-to-hand combat I did was the Eradicators versus the Von Rein's Leapers. The Von Rein's Leapers are even good at killing Eradicators with a toughness of 6. So there was a model that was killed and another was wounded. Actually 2 wounds because they have 3 to start. So he's down to 1 wound for that final wave that's going to happen. 2 of them have survived, the Multi-Melta and the Melta Rifle Sergeant or the Eradicator Sergeant. But those Von Rein's Leapers are very dangerous. Like I've said in the past, they're kind of like Terminator killers. They're also Eradicator killers. And the Eradicators do not have a great hand-to-hand combat attack. If you guys have played Space Marine 2, it's like the butt of the Melta Rifle or the butt of the Multi-Melta just being swung around. So they weren't able to wound, and those 3 Von Rein's Leapers left the table with all full wounds. We are moving to the last melee here for the Salamanders. It is the Infernus Marines teamed up with Vulcan Hesten versus the Tyrant Guard and the Swarm Lord. The Tyranid have the advantage here. They have the initiative. So it is going to be the Tyrant Guard going first with the Crushing Claws and Rending Claws. This is 2 attacks, twin-linked, hitting on a 4+. 1 did not hit. So we got this guy. And then this is Strength 8 versus Toughness 4. And since it's twin-linked, I can reroll this, but we need a 2. Don't need to reroll. We got it. It is a -2 to AP. Our Infernus Marines do not have an invulnerable save. So this is going to be a 5+. And they did not save it. So from that, it is 1 Marine that's dead. From the Crushing Claws and Rending Claws, it is 2 damage per hit. Our Salamander Marines have 2 wounds apiece, at least the Infernus ones do, so that is the end of 1 of them. That means that there's going to be 1 less Marine for the counterattack. And now the scariest part is the Swarm Lord. So we've seen in all the past battles, and if you guys, if this is your first one, go back and check them out, because this thing is absolutely phenomenal in hand-to-hand combat. And it will be the Infernus Marines taking on the first brunt of the wounds, but if there's anything that comes over that, it's going to be allocated to Vulcan Hesten. He still has his full 5 wounds, but that is before any kind of counterattack, so they have to survive the Swarm Lord first. Here we go. This is 8 attacks, 2, 4, 6, 8, hitting on a 2+. All of those are through. Not great rolls either from my Salamanders. So the battle, again, that TSN turning point might be here. Strength 9, toughness 4. This is going to be 2s to wound against Primaris Infernus Marines. So 2 of those fell off, but they are twin-linked, so I get to re-roll. If these are 2s, they're added to the pile. And 1 fell off, luckily, but that is another attack through. It is -2 to AP. I'm just going to re-roll these because that's a lot of dice to grab. So this is now the Infernus Marine save and possibly Vulcan Hesten, and it is 3 damage per that does not get saved here. So this thing is probably like almost 2 stories high. It's got bone sabers that are bigger than a Primaris Marine, and there's 4 of them. So you can just imagine its wingspan. And it also has a blade on its head, so it's probably crashing its head into people too. Yep, so this is 5s here. Hopefully the Emperor is watching down and protecting these Salamanders. We'll see. So, not a great roll. Not good at all. So these 2 were saved. That is 3 damage per. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. That's the end of everybody, I think. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And this was 3, 6, 9, 12. So just enough. That has actually killed Vulcan Hesten as well. Unless, let me see if he's got an invulnerable save. Or I think he has a feel no pain. So let's see if he can do that. But that's the remaining wounds that he has to survive. So there was one that came through. So this was enough for 3, 6, 9, 12. That was 2, 4, 6, 8. So let me just, I'm bringing my calculator up here. I have to do this to make sure that I'm doing this accurately. So it was 15 attacks minus 8. So Vulcan Hesten is going to have to make at least 2 saves here because that's going to be enough to save him. So I'm just putting my Infernus Marines over here. That's the end of them. Yeah, so let's see. He has a Feel No Pain 6+. Vulcan Hesten does. So here we go. Needs the 6s here. And it didn't matter. Neither of them were saved. So that is 3, 6 damage that has still gone through. Vulcan Hesten has 5 wounds. He has fallen. So that is the Salamanders commander. He has just been killed. And all that remains on that side of the table now is the Melta rifle. So you know what? I'll pull this off while we're live here. Get you guys away from the tray for a sec. This is what remains. The Swarmlord and the Tyrant Guard are going to be pulled off the table. There's no counterattack allowed because the Eradicators were fighting the Von Rhein's Leapers. And there's no Marines left to do a fight back against the Swarmlord and the Tyrant Guard. I don't know. I don't know how you take out a Swarmlord. Like if you have a Space Marine force... maybe Marnius Calgar, like some kind of superhuman, even beyond Space Marine, I'm not sure. And then this is the other side of the Salamanders. So that was a really rough turn. I knew these guys were going to be incredible in the first wave, and they were. But they just don't have that armor edge to be able to battle against some massive enemies. We're going to break this up in a sec, but we are going to go to the tray for this final one. This is going to finish off wave 2, turn 2 for the Tyranid. And that is going to be the 2 Von Rhein's Leapers versus the Raven Guard Scout Squad with bolt guns. If they somehow survive, the Scouts will be able to counterattack. I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. And it's looking less and less like the Salamanders are going to be able to help out the Raven Guard in the last turn. And these Eliminators might have to come off the tower and actually get their hands dirty on the ground in hand-to-hand combat versus Screamer Killers, Norn Assimilators, Tyrannofexes, Malceptors, Harospexes, so we'll see how that goes. But over to the tray, and we'll get this turn and wave concluded. And then, oh no, our Space Wolf as well. Hopefully don't get his fate. Him and the Flesh Terror just couldn't hold it down. They were the first 2 forces out here, and they were destroyed. Should be a pretty quick one here. I'm really crossing my fingers, hoping that these Scouts are going to survive, but I don't know. With that 4+ armor save raised to a 5+ from the Von Rhein's Leapers and Talons, or Leapers Talons, we'll have to see. So we are going to get to this one. Luckily, they're only facing off against 2 Von Rhein's Leapers and not 3, so this is going to be 6 attacks, 12 attacks instead of 18. So, you know, you'll take your small victories, I guess. 6 attacks each, though. Incredible. So here we go. At least it's a 3+. A little bit harder to get than a 2+ like that damn Swarmlord, but here we are. So looking for 3s here for the Von Rhein's Leapers. All right, yeah, and if these things had a twin link or some kind of reroll, they'd be unstoppable. So a lot of attacks through. Strength 5 against toughness 4. That's scout armor. Same toughness, but the save is not the same, so that's going to be coming up in a sec. But it's going to be 3s to wound here for the Von Rhein's Leapers. And another very good roll. So those are all through. I'm going to use these again to save. So it's -1 to AP. The 4+ turns into a 5+, which is really tough to make. They're called like neophytes now too, kind of similar to the Black Templar. If you guys watched the previous Surrounded Battle series, like the scout unit here are neophytes with the Black Templars. See, this can also be called Neophyte Marines, but they're scouts. So here we go, 5+. Holy crap. So they put up a bit of a fight. Luckily as well, the one saving grace, it's 1 damage per. So they were able to save 1, 2, 3. So those Leaper's talons were coming down. They were dodging, slashing back with their knives and stuff. They do have 2 wounds per as the scout squad. So that is 2 Marines that are dead. I'm just going to remove them. And there are still 3 scouts remaining. So I'm going to remove a bolt gun Marine and a bolt gun Marine because I need that missile launcher and the heavy bolter to take on the big enemies. Making sure that I'm adding them to the right squad here. Yep. I have one with gray pants and one with green pants. That's how I tell them apart. I usually number my stands, but that's not the case. This also means that the scout squad is going to be able to fight back here. So let's see if they can get maybe a casualty in and kill one of these Von Ryan's Leapers to avenge their buddies. We're going to start with the Astartes chainsword that is held by the scout sergeant, hitting on a 3+. Not great. It's not our Oath of Moment either, so we can't reroll that. Oh yeah, and sorry, the Oath of Moment as well was there for Vulcan. It would have been there for Vulcan Heston, but they were killed before, so I couldn't do that because that was locked in against the Tyrant Guard and the Swarmlord. It still comes into play as it's the same like battle round, but that was not the case. So this is Strength 4, Toughness 5, 5's to wound. Shite, garbage, 1 through. Yeah. -1 to AP, so 5+ save for the Von Ryan Sleeper. Didn't get it. Didn't get it. It's a 2. So that means that 1 damage has been allocated to the Von Ryan Sleepers. 1 is down to 2 wounds, and 1 still has its full 3. We need some really lucky rolls here with the close combat weapons. So I was looking to the sergeant in the other squad actually has the, or one of the scouts has the combat knife, so it looks completely different. So I have been using this right. These are close combat weapons that are being used by the heavy bolter and the missile launcher Marine. So they are 2 attacks per, hitting on a 3+. That's a better roll. There we go. That's what we needed. Strength 4 though, toughness 5, 5's to wound. Come on. Yeah, not bad, not bad. I'll take it. It's 50%. We'll use the dice here. There's no AP, so this is going to be 4+ saves for the Von Ryan Sleepers. And they were able to make both. So a 4 and a 5. I am going to give you guys a quick rundown of the table, what it looks like now. I'm going to remove the Tyranid models, and we're going to be setting up wave 3 here really soon. And there are not many Marines left, so this is a little bit worrisome, but I'll show you guys in a sec just a synopsis of turn 2, wave 2. We will start up with the remaining Raven Guard. So this is not them placed. This is just the end of turn 2. So we have Aethon Shan and 4 Scout Marines with shotgun. That's my shotgun unit. They still have the heavy bolter and the sniper rifle as well. And that fucking heavy bolt pistol that a chapter master carries. I don't understand that. 3 scouts here. I kept the best weapons we had. So that is the missile launcher, the heavy bolter, and the sergeant. Up here, we still have the 3 eliminators, and again, they're probably gonna have to get their hands dirty this time, or at least come down maybe on top of these Prometheum tanks. We'll see what happens. The Salamanders had a really rough go there. It sucks, but they were the more numerous Imperium force that was left here between them and the Raven Guard, so the Hive Mind and the Tyranid jumped all over them and did a lot of damage. The aggressors still have full wounds. Their weapons are not great, but that hand-to-hand combat of the power fists might be needed. The Infernus Marines got their asses kicked. There's still 3 with full wounds. Hand-to-hand combat, not great. And in this turn, those Pyre Blasters are probably not going to do much against the heavy armor of the Tyranid that's coming out. These guys are our last chance. Melta-Gun. I want to keep them close enough, though, to be able to get that Melta bonus, but that also probably puts them in range for hand-to-hand combat. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. We'll have to see what we do there, but there's not many left. And they did not have a great second wave. I'll show you guys the casualties in total. So probably the least of any force. But again, that was the Salamanders. No dissing the Raven Guard, but the Salamanders had to pull a lot of weight there. So they were able to kill 4 Raveners, squad of Von Ryan Sleepers, 1 Von Ryan Sleeper, 2 Tyrant Guard. That is it for the second wave for the Imperium kills. And then over here is the casualties, which is massive. So Vulcan Hestan is dead for the Salamanders. He was a very good hand-to-hand combat punch. He's like the queen on your chessboard. He is gone. We had an Eradicator gone. He's like a rook or a bishop. Our Infernus Marines, which I'd say are probably more like knights as opposed to pawns, but you might want to call them pawns in this game. They almost had 2 full squads wiped out. And then in the back here, there was already some scouts that were killed, but those numbers have risen. And there's barely 2 units of scouts left. So this is going to be a pretty dark wave 3, I think, but we'll see. These guys are going to keep fighting because Space Marines know no fear, and I keep that rule in. Morale and all that bullshit goes out the window when I'm playing. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. So these guys are in a surrounded last stand scenario. There is nowhere to run. They are going to be fighting until the death, which is what a Space Marine would do. So we're going to get the third wave set up. I will sum up both sides where they are, and we will take this one on to the final part of this game. Holy Dinah, geez Louise, this is it. Wave 3, turn 3. For now, the end of the Surrounded series by Finnigan 40K. I'm just doing a spin around here of the table, and we'll show you guys where everybody sits. You're seeing some of those massive Tyranid models in here. It is going to be the Imperium here going first in just a second. And there's not many models left from that last turn that we saw. So we'll start here. We have our 2 Screamer Killers that are facing off against the Eradicator Marines. If we get some good rolls here, it's possible that we can maybe kill one of these. No point in going into hand-to-hand combat. I'm hoping that the toughness of the Eradicators and that Primaris armor is going to help them out. Or the Aggressor armor, I should say, and we will see what happens there. These things also have a very good range attack if I want to do that. We'll have to see. Over here, we have the Haruspecs facing off against our lone commander for this table. We had Vulcan Hesten go down in the last turn to the Swarm Lord and a Tyrant Guard. So we have Aethon Shan with his 4 remaining shotgun scouts from that initial unit facing off here. Those shotguns, the heavy bolter, the sniper rifle, and his fucking heavy bolt pistol, I don't think are going to do much, so I'm going to have to probably get into hand-to-hand, but I will look at that. The Eliminator Marines have jumped off of the tower. They are going to try to shoot as many enemies as they can during this turn and weaken them. This is going to be the Tyrannofex with the Flushbore Hive that's going to be firing at them. It could also fire at any of the other Marines that it wants to that are in range and in line of sight. I'm going to say, since I'm switching in the Tyrannofex between the Tyranid models, I'm going to say that these 3 do have las fusils, or 2. I'll have to check the rules again to see what's legit, to give them just a little bit of a better chance of cracking that Tyrannofex armor. Over here are 3 bolt gun scout variants. There's actually no bolt guns left here. We have a bolt pistol, heavy bolter, and missile launcher. They are facing down the Malceptor, and this thing has a very good ranged attack. It can also slice and dice in hand-to-hand, so we'll see. Over here, this is probably going to have to be another hand-to-hand combat battle. The Pyroblasters and the Flamestorm Gauntlets are not going to have high enough toughness to be able to crack that non-assimilator. So I'm going to have to jump in there hoping that the close combat weapons of the Infernus Marines will be okay and that those power fists of the aggressors will actually do some damage. And then back to the start. So we're going to move over here to the Salamanders first. I am going to do some shoots here on camera, do their movement. I'll come back and show you guys what I've done, and I'll break this up side to side. So we'll do Salamanders first, then the Tyranid against the Salamanders, then we'll go to the Raven Guard, do their turn, and then we will do the Tyranid versus them. So I'm going to do some movement here, check out the board one more time, check and see what kind of, I don't know, strategy I want to put forward here. It's going to be pretty tough at this point, but be right back in a second. I'll show you guys what I've decided to do with the Salamanders. So that was super quick. I moved the Aggressor Marines and the Infernus Marines into hand-to-hand combat to get some kind of initiative here against the Norn Assimilator. They have surrounded it. That's going to be a lot of attacks coming in, and I think this is really the only chance they have because those Torrent Flame weapons are not going to do great against the armor and the toughness of the Assimilator. Over here, I am going to hopefully get the luckiest rolls ever for this battle and have the Melta Rifle and Multi-Melta kill one of these 2 Screamer Killers. We will see. It's a very, very tricky thing. We're going to start here in the tray, so we'll jump in there right now. I'm going to be putting all the firepower onto one of these. They have 10 wounds. If I roll very well, it is possible that our Eradicator Marines with those Melta weapons will be able to kill one, but it has to almost be a perfect roll for that to happen. So over the tray, let's get the shoot going. Then we're going to do the hand-to-hand combat. And that is going to finish it up for the Salamanders. We'll flip it back over to the Tyranid, get that side done, and then we'll move over to the Raven Guard and the Tyranid and finish this one up. I am going to actually give the Oath of Moment to the Aggressors and the Infernus Marines fighting the Norn Assimilator. So our two lone Eradicators here, I am not giving them the Oath of Moment, so they're not going to get too many rerolls. We are going to start here though, because it is the range attack shoot phase before we move into hand-to-hand combat. So it's going to have to be some really good rolls here. As I said, the toughness of the Screamer Killers is 9, but the strength of those Melta rifles and Multi-Melta is also 9. So it's possible that we could get this going. And actually with the Total Obliteration, which is one of the abilities of the Eradicator Squad, read that at the very start, but I'll read it again just so we're fresh. Each time a ranged attack made by a model in this unit targets a monster, which is definitely a Screamer Killer. Actually, let me just see its keywords. It is considered a monster. Or vehicle model, you can reroll the hit roll. You can reroll the wound roll and you can reroll the damage roll. So that is going to help us immensely. And that actually, we don't need this to be the Oath of Moment. So I'm really glad I checked that out. So here we go. We're going to start off with the Melta rifle. They have not moved as well, so that's another bonus. It is going to be a 2+. They're within 9 inches, so we're going to get the Melta 2 as well. But let's roll a 2 here first, and if worse comes to worse, I can use that Total Obliteration to reroll the hit. So let's see how it goes. Melta rifle. Did need to reroll. That's a 3. We needed a 2. We're good to go. Now it's going to be the wound roll, so I can reroll this. So this guy here is has to be a 4 because it is strength 9 versus toughness 9. It's okay. I can reroll this. It's only 1 left here though, so please 4 higher. And we got it. We got a 6. That is fantastic. So this is the tricky part. The Melta rifle is a D6. I can reroll the damage roll if I want, but if I get like a 3 or a 4 or a 5, I might take it because I will have that Melta 2 on top. And if I reroll and I get a 1 or a 2, not as good. So let's hope for a 6 here. See what happens. Sorry, we have to do the saving throw, of course, first for the Screamer Killer, which is going to be a 6+. So this is a -4 to AP. That Screamer Killer does not have a invulnerable save. Usually has a 2+, so it's got to make a 6 save here first, and then we roll the damage roll. Getting ahead of myself. So the Screamer Killer did not, and I'm just going to see if any new rules have come in here. They have not, so that's good. So now we're on to the damage roll. So we have wounded. Now let's see how much damage we're doing. What do you guys think? Should I gamble and try to roll again? It's a 3. If I do a 2 add to it, it's going to be a total of 5 damage. The Screamer Killer has 10 wounds. And then the Multi-Melta would have to do something similar to at least take one of these out. I'm going to reroll. So this is for all the marbles here. Let's do it. And not a bad call. So we have 4 plus the Melta 2. That's going to be 6 wounds allocated to one of the Screamer Killers. So 1 is down to 4. Very good start here. We're going to move over now to the Multi-Melta Gunner. It is 2 attacks hitting on a 4+. Usually we have the heavy ability. They have not moved, so this is going to be 3+, and I can reroll. Don't need to. 2 3s. Perfect. Strength 9, toughness 9, force to wound. I got 1, but I can reroll the wound. Didn't pick it up. That sucks. I might be able to kill one of these. We'll see how it goes. So this is now a 6+ again for the Screamer Killer. It rolled a 2. It did not save it. It does not have an invulnerable. It does not have feel no pain. So we're going to roll here, see how much damage we're getting. And I can reroll this again because of that Total Obliteration. That's what we wanted. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to allocate this to the other model. So this is, you know what? Because we want to kill one Outrider, we're going to be facing 2 in hand-to-hand combat here in a second. So it sucks. I'm going to be throwing some wounds out, but these are not like a unit together. They're a standalone model. Their unit composition is 1 Screamer Killer. They're not like a Carnifex brood. So this is 6 plus 2. It is 8 wounds, but I'm going to kill that one that had the 4. And that's going to give them a better chance of surviving that final attack. And it's also a pretty massive feather in the cap. They were able to kill a Carnifex with only 2 Marines left. So that's fantastic. Pull this off, show you guys the table, break this up a little bit. So there they are. The Lone Screamer Killer does have 10 wounds left. They are going to be able to do a counterattack if they survive, and they do have a pretty high toughness, having that toughness 6. So we'll see how it goes during the next turn. The Carnifex, or the Screamer Killer, could also do its range attack, though, which is the Bioplasmic Scream, strength 8. So I'll have to look at both of those profiles, see what's best. I have been usually doing the hand-to-hand combat because that's a guaranteed 10 attacks, as opposed to rolling a d6 plus 3 where it could be as low as 4. So I'll consider that. We are now going to move over to the tray once again and get this Salamander's turn finished. They're fighting the Norn Assimilator. They do have the initiative, and let's see if they can take it out, or at least take some wounds off of it before they go down, or maybe they'll survive. We'll have to see. Over the tray. Back again. Here it is. This is the Inferno Squad and the Aggressors versus the Norn Assimilator. I'm just going to check abilities here while we're on camera live so we can figure out what's going on here. Singular Purpose. I remember that one. At the start of the first battle round, select one of the following. Yeah, so there's Singular Purpose for the Norn Assimilator. At the start of the first battle round, select one of the following. Select one enemy unit until the end of the battle. Each time this model makes an attack that targets that unit, you can reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll. I'm going to be locking that in, so that's going to help here with the Norn Assimilator counterattack, and if it is still alive at the end of this attack, the Tyranid turn also. So Infernus Marines, not incredible. You guys saw them do absolutely fantastic. So these guys are perfect for killing the skittering enemies, Hormagaunts, Termagants, Ripper Swarms. Completely different when you're taking on a monster like a Norn Assimilator that's probably 3 stories tall. The Infernus Marines do have a close combat weapon, so it's 3 attacks per. We have 3, 6, 9 attacks total. So I'm just going to grab those dice. And here we go. So let's see if we can chip one wound off here. I'm going to be super happy, but we're going to need some really damn good rolls. So this is hitting on a 3+, and this is our Oath of Moment. I've made it that way, so they can reroll the hit roll, and they can add 1 to the wound roll. So let's do this. So I'm glad I locked that in against the Norn Assimilator because a few of these fell off. Not a bad roll, not a bad roll. So we need these to be 3s or higher. Pick them all up. Wicked. So this is strength 4 versus toughness 11. It's going to be 6s to wound. So we got a couple in there. We have 1, 2. I'm going to flip this 5 over to a 6 as per the full ability of the Oath of Moment, because Salamanders follow the Codex, unlike some of the other chapters. So these 3 have gone through. We're going to see the save now, though. It's a 0 to AP, and the Norn Assimilator has a 2+ save. So we're going to need some snake eyes here, some 1s, some triple eyes, whatever you want to call it. Let's do it. And 3 3s. That means that the Norn Assimilator has survived all of the attacks from the Infernus Marines. This is it. So Aggressors, they have their twin power fists, a bit higher strength, still going to be tough to roll, but let's do this. So they are 3 attacks each, strength 8. They're twin linked, so I'm going to be able to reroll the wound, which is fantastic because Oath of Moment is locked in here too, so I can reroll the hit roll, reroll the wound roll, and I can add 1 to the wound roll if I need it to pick up, hopefully, an attack. -2 to AP, 2 damage. So I don't think they can kill it outright. I'm just trying to do the math in my head, but they can hopefully wound it, and we'll see. So here we go. I'm going to grab 3, 6, so 9 attacks again, but this time with power fists. Here we go. I don't know. They've got like flamers on the end of their fists, so if they're punching with those, it might break their flamers. But anyways, at this point, they're trying to survive. So we're looking for 3+ here. I can re-roll this if I need to. And it is going to be needed. I'll just move the dice that have succeeded over here. So we had 5 for sure. Can re-roll these, looking for 3s. Amazing. That is an incredible skill, the Oath of Moment. Like, I know it's only 1 target per, but hey. Strength 8, toughness 11. At least it's not a double up, so this is going to be 5s to wound, and I can re-roll this because it is twin linked. And holy fuck, I need that. So we got 6s. We're looking for 5s or above. That's better. So we picked up 1, 2. With Oath of Moment, I can flip one of these up to a 5, which counts. These are no good. I guess their flamer got bent, and that was the end of that. I'm just going to use these dice to save for the Norn Assimilator. The Norn Assimilator does not have an invulnerable save, so this is going up to a 4+. Here we go. This one, if it rolled this way, it would be a 5. If it rolled that way, it would be a 3. I'm going to re-roll it. And it needed 4s, and it got some pretty good rolls. So that's not good for our Salamanders. This is through, so they were able to damage it. 2 damage has gone through to the Norn Assimilator. I'm just going to change its wound disc down to 14 from 16 wounds. This thing is ridiculous. It's like more powerful than a lot of the Imperial Guard tanks. I'd say that that's on level with like a Rogel Dorn battle tank. So that is it for the Salamanders for now. I'm going to do a quick move here with the Tyranid. I'll sum everything up, show you guys what's going on. That Norn Assimilator is probably jumping right back in, and it's going to try to take out as many Marines as it can. If some of them do survive, they will be able to fight back and maybe chip off a few more wounds. So we'll see. Be back in just a sec on the table. No surprise here. The Hive Mind is going to use its Norn Assimilator to take out as many of these Primaris Marines as it can. It's got some very good hand-to-hand combat attacks, so we're going to see how that goes. I'm hoping that at least some of these guys survive. The wounds are going to be allocated to the Infernus Marines first, and then any spillover is going to go to the aggressors, but they're all locked in, so all of them will be able to fight back, whoever's still alive. So that's at least hopefully going to be something. And then over here, the Screamer Killer has gone into hand-to-hand combat with the 2 Eradicator Marines, and it does have the initiative. So right back over to the tray, let's get rolling, and we're going to see how many Salamanders survive this battle, and if they can maybe by some chance get their kill count up a little bit more before the end of this turn. Yep. So once again, very easy decision here for the Screamer Killer. If I was fighting 2 maybe Infernus Marines or 2 Scout Marines or something with it, I would have definitely done the Bioplasmic Scream, but it's strength 8 coming in against toughness 6 might be a little more tricky, so I'm going to be going in for melee here with the Screamer Talons. 10 guaranteed rolls. I can't say that it's going to be 10 guaranteed attacks, but we're going to be able to roll for 10 attacks. Strength 10, -2 to AP, and 3 damage per. The Eradicators have 3 wounds apiece, so if 2 of these attacks land, actually one's down to 1 wound. He got busted up earlier, I forgot that. So there is 4 wounds total between the 2 of them. So if 2 attacks come down here, no matter what, it's going to be the end of them. So it is the Screamer Killer first. I'm going to grab its dice here. So we have 4, 5, 10. So at least they're not facing 2 of these, because if it was 2, lights out for sure. This is going to be hitting on a 3+, and I'm just checking if it has anything. Yeah, so no, it's just Death Scream. There is a Deadly Demise, so if they somehow kill it here, it'll affect it, but let's see. And the Deadly Demise previous, I believe, I'm just going to check, I think it's 6 inches. Yeah. It was when a model is destroyed, roll 1d6 before moving into play. Yeah, 6 inches. So it was too far to do any damage there when they killed the other one. So here we go. Sorry, Screamer Killer Talons, 10 attacks, hitting on a 3+. Gotta get myself focused in here. So a few fell off. Not the worst. It is strength 10, toughness 6, so it's not doubled up. It's going to be 3s to wound instead of 2s, so a little bit helpful there with that aggressor armor. So looking for 3s, and more have fallen off. No rerolls allowed. It's not twin linked. It's none of that stuff. This is an older organism. Kind of the beginning of the Carnifex is the story now, but this was the old Carnifex, so I always screw up calling it a Carnifex because the old metal model looked exactly like this thing. It's just a bit more new. This one looks bald too. It's kind of funny. I'm also bald, so I can understand that. So these 3 are through. It's that -2 to AP. The Eradicator squad does not have an invulnerable, so it's going to be 5+ saves for them. Come on, guys. Let's get one attack back here before you're done for the game. Oh no. So I needed 5s. It didn't work. That's 3 damage per. So 3 6, 9. That would have killed the entire Eradicator squad if they were all still there. In this case, it was one with full wounds, the multi-melta. The other melta rifle, which is the sergeant, had 1 wound left, so they have been killed. So they're added to the casualty pile for the Imperium. The entire Eradicator squad did not survive. I'm going to just get myself set up here, grab the dice, and we'll be back with the Norn Assimilator versus the Aggressors and the Infernus Marines. All set. Got the profiles up here on my app. There's no counterattack there either from the Eradicators. They were absolutely wiped out by that final Screamer Killer. It still has 10 wounds as well. They were able to kill one though, so that's a little... It's good for a casualty count. So now we're moving over to the Norn Assimilator. We have the 2 profiles here. It is the Monstrous Scything Talons and the Toxin Injector Harpoon. I've also locked in for the singular purpose the ability to select one enemy unit. I'm going to make that the Infernus Marines. Until the end of the battle, each time this model makes an attack that targets that unit, you can reroll the hit roll and you can reroll the wound roll, and that is who it is attacking first. They're all in hand-to-hand combat with it though, so any wounds that spill over here, and there's very possible wounds, it's 3 damage per with the Monstrous Scything Talons, and d6 plus 1 damage for the Toxin Injector Harpoon. So this might kill them outright. But the first wounds are going to be allocated to the Infernus Marines. I'm hoping those Aggressors are going to survive so they can fight back with those Power Fists. They were able to peel a couple wounds off. Let's see. So 2 plus, 6 attacks, strength 9, and the next one's even worse. Less attacks, but strength 12. So this is it, Monstrous Scything Talons from the Norn Assimilator, looking for 2s. We got a 1, but since I have that singular purpose, I can reroll. And he picked that up. Or she, I don't know. Maybe they're an it. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, and we have a strength 9 versus toughness 4. So this is going to be 2s to wound, and I can also reroll this. And that's going to be needed. Not tough to roll, but sometimes you get those 1s, and that's not what you want. So those are all through. This is not boding well for our Infernus Marines. I'm going to use this for the Infernus Marines to save. So it is a -2 to AP. The Infernus squad does not have an invulnerable save, so this is going to be 5 pluses. Couple were made. However, and this is gonna spill over into the Aggressors because they're involved. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12 wounds. Oh fuck. We had 6 wounds for the Infernus Marines, and that is also 2 dead Aggressors. I'll keep my Sergeant in. He's got smaller Flamestorm gauntlets too, so hopefully they won't get busted up if he's able to fight back. That was really bad. So there's 1 Aggressor left. I'm just getting my Marines set up over here. Need my Sergeant here. There we go. So there's still multiple attacks coming in here. That is the end of 3 Infernus Marines and 2 Aggressors. So here we go. All right. So this is going to be the Norn Assimilator taking on that final Aggressor with the Toxin Injector Harpoons. I need red dice here. So this is 4 attacks hitting on a 2+ as well. I can also reroll this again. No, that was against the Infernus Marines, so I can't reroll this. Still got the 2s I needed. Strength 12 versus toughness 6. So a normal Marine has a toughness of 4. A Guardsman has a toughness of 3. This has doubled up an Aggressor Marine that is in probably some of the best armor other than Terminator Dreadnought armor. So I need 2s here to wound. Crazy. And 2 fell off. I can't reroll these because that's not part of the unit that was marked for singular purpose. These 2 are through though. It is a -2 to AP. It's going to be 5+ saves. Saved 1. This guy is through. It is d6 plus 1 damage, so it's possible if I roll a 1 or 2 here, this Aggressor will be able to fight back, and the Salamanders will have 1 surviving model. So, no, I need a 1 1, and that's all because it's going to be D6 plus 1. So here we go. And that's not what we needed. So that's 6 wounds through, D6 plus 1 from the toxin injector harpoon. That would have killed 2 of the aggressors outright anyways. So the salamanders have no models left. I'm going to just pull the camera off and show you guys this bleak scene. They're the only chapter, I believe, that has not had a survivor. They had an amazing first turn. That second turn really hurt them. They lost their commander. The Norn Assimilator did it on this side, lost a couple of wounds. And then the Screamer Killer, 1 was killed. Those Eradicators put up a hell of a fight, but that one went in and sliced and diced. So that is it. The Salamanders actually moved to the bottom. They had some pretty good casualties, but no survivors. So I'd say they're in last place, which sucks. I was really hoping they'd do better, but that's okay. We're now going to move over to the Raven Guard, and I don't want to jinx anything, but it's not looking too great either for them. So I'm going to do their move. I'm going to have to really look at some stuff. There's some heavy abilities here with their weapons, and I don't want to lose that if they have it with like the heavy bolter, possibly the missile launcher. So I could try to move them back. I'm going to lose that heavy buff, and I think they're still in range for all of these enemies if they want to get into hand-to-hand. And this thing here with the Flesh Borer Hive, it's going to have 20 shots. We'll definitely do that in the tray, but that might be enough to absolutely shred the Eliminators. And this is the Imperium's turn first, so it's possible they could weaken some stuff, but I'll do their movement, do some strategy, come back, show you guys what's up with the Raven Guard. But our Salamanders are obliterated. They're all gone, and they lost their... I believe Vulcan Heston is their chapter master, so they're going to have to probably get Adrex Agatoni in there, who's one of their captains, maybe to fill that role. So, all right, let's do the move. So with the range attacks coming up, I think I'll get them all in the tray, and then also the melee. I'll show you guys that in a sec. The scouts here, I should have actually started them back further, but this is locked in. It's like chess, so I've made that move. There is a heavy profile bonus for the missile launcher and for the heavy bolter, so to get that bonus, I cannot move them. If they'd move back, I'm going to have to roll their regular ballistic skill. So they are stuck here, and the Malceptor is probably going to have its way with them after. The Eliminators here, I'm going to get to the tray and I'm going to see what I can do again with those last fusils. Since I've been switching out Tyrannofex species, or I don't know, types, I'm going to do the same with the snipers. So like they've got a couple guns up in the tower there. They were able to switch out their bolt carbine or bolt rifle, bolt sniper rifle for a las fusil. So I'll check that out when we get over there, but we're going to do the shoots first. And then over here, I'm not firing at this thing with a heavy bolt pistol. I'm not firing at this thing with a shotgun, a heavy bolter, or a bolt pistol. I've decided to go into hand-to-hand combat with this thing, and it's probably the best chance that they have with Aethon Shun in there, because he's got a fucking heavy bolt pistol. So I don't know why he's got that weapon. Anyways, let's get over the tray. We're going to do the shoots. We'll sum up the shoots. We'll get over the hand-to-hand combat. Then it's flipping back over to the Tyranid, and that's going to finish this one up. So let's get to the tray and see how this battle finishes up. So we're going to start off with our bolt gun scout squad, even though there's no bolt guns left. They do have a heavy bolter, a missile launcher that is definitely going to be loaded up with a crack missile, and a bolt pistol. The Malceptor has a toughness of 11, and I'm not sure anything's going to happen. It also has an invulnerable save of 4+. So let's get to this one. We'll see how it goes. Start up with the bolt pistol. I'm not making this my Oath of Moment. My Oath of Moment is going to be the Haruspecs. So Aethon Shun and the guys around him can get the most out of that. So here we go. Hitting on a 3+. Not a good start. So the bolt pistol jammed. This guy is still a neophyte. He is not a full initiated Space Marine yet, so he might be nervous. His 2 hearts are pumping very, very hard in his chest, and he might have his fused rib cage ripped open in a sec by the Malceptor, mattering what I want to do with it. Next up is going to be the heavy bolter. I'm going to save that crack missile for the end. So this is going to be a heavy 3+ instead of 4+. And again, these are smaller guys. They're holding probably a 70 or 100 pound machine gun that is the heavy bolter with all of its ammo, so it's tougher to shoot. But since I did not move, this is going to be a 3+ instead of a 4+. Got them all. That's what we needed. Strength 5 versus toughness 11, so this doubles it up. I need 6s. Can't reroll anything. None of those went through. This is not looking good for a Raven Guard either. Not a great start. Missile launcher, crack. It's going to be 1 attack. I need a 3+ because of the heavy bonus. Usually a 4+, so let's look for a 3. And I didn't get that either. So that is the end of those guys. The melee weapons for the Malceptor are pretty good. It has a very good Psychic Overload ranged attack though. That's coming in a sec, but I think I'll probably be doing that. Anyways, we'll keep going with the shoots here. This is going to be, and I'll do this on camera with you guys so we can learn together. I don't remember anymore what we did last time. I don't think we've had eliminators in here though, so it's been a while since I've used them and rules may have changed also. So on the app, and the app is absolutely fantastic, it gives you the war gear options, so literally what's allowed. So the Eliminator Sergeant's bolt rifle can be replaced with one of the following. A las fusil, I'm going to use that, and then all eliminators in this unit can have their bolt sniper rifle replaced with 1 las fusil. I'm going to do 2 more las fusils because it's allowed. Usually you have to lock these in before the fight, but since I've been moving in Tyranid models in and out, especially for the Tyranofex, I'm going to give these guys all las fusils. So it's going to help a little bit. They moved off of the tower, but that was between turns, so this is still going to give them the heavy bonus because they have not moved. It is 1 attack per though. This is not our Oath of Moment, and I don't think I have any ability to re-roll. I'm just checking the rules. Mark the target. Each time this unit remains stationary. Okay. So it's going to be 3 attacks. This is a 2+ instead of a 3+ because it is a heavy weapon. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So we got all of our 2+. It is strength 9 versus toughness 12. So I'm going to need 5s here. Got 1. Fuck. So 1's through. Can't reroll. There's no abilities for them to reroll with that. So it's a -3 to AP. The Tyranofex actually does not have an invulnerable, so it's going to have to make a 5+ save. And it didn't. So at least they were able to chip a couple wounds off. We're going to see how much that is because it is D6 damage. Come on, 6. We got a 2. So I was going to say not the best, not the worst. That's pretty bad because the Tyranofex goes from 16 wounds down to 14. This thing is another living tank, probably with the same stats similar to a Rogaldorn battle tank for the Imperial Guard. I'd say a Land Raider is probably a little bit stronger than it. A Baneblade definitely is, but these big Tyranid models are like living tanks. So that is it for the shoot. I'll break it up here. I'll pull this right off again for you guys. Show you what went on. So very, very depressing roll here by our scouts. They didn't really have much of a chance, though. They're not at the same level as those Space Marines. There was a lot of them. They're cheaper points. The armor's not as great. The ballistic skill's not as great. The weapon skill's not as great. The weapons aren't as great. So they're facing down the Malceptor with its full 14 wounds. And I can play with these guys. I can do hand-to-hand combat or I can do range. I think I'm probably going to stick with range, but that's in a sec. And then our Elite Eliminator Raven Guard Snipers were able to take 2 wounds off of the Tyranofex. Some forces have not been able to take any, so better than nothing. And this thing with its Flesh Borer Hive is going to be pretty fucking crazy. It also has extra attacks too with the spine launcher on its back or whatever. We'll check that out in a sec when we flip back over to the Tyranid. But for now, we are going to be seeing how Aethon Sean, the, I believe, chapter master now of the Raven Guards and 4 Scouts do against the Haruspecs. This is hand-to-hand, so the Raven Guard are going to get that initiative, but it's going to flip over to the Haruspecs if they're not able to kill it, and it has some really good hand-to-hand combat melee attacks. So back over the tray, and hopefully these guys can survive. I think I made a mistake earlier too. I did 2 chain swords for the Scout Squad when one has a combat knife or one of the, the combat knives. I'm just going to check here before we get into it if Aethon Sean does any abilities here that are going to buff out the Scouts. Ingress Heroic, that's for 0 CP, no. Nope. So nothing there to help them out. Scout Squad, do they have any abilities? I'm thinking not. No. So they have guerrilla tactics. That's not going to help here because they're locked in melee. So here we go. This is, once again, a big one. We do have the Astartes Chainsword from the Scout Sergeant. So I'm going to grab 4 dice for that. This is hitting on a 3+. This is our Oath of Moment target, so I'm going to be able to re-roll. Perfect. Pick that up. Strength 4, toughness 11, need 6s. So none of those hit, but with Oath of Moment, and this being a chapter that follows it very specifically, I am able to do 1 wound, so that's from a 5 to a 6. -1 to AP. The Haruspex does not have an invulnerable save, so let's see. It's going to be a 4+ here for it. And it rolled a 5. I was really hoping that the little scout with his chainsword would be able to hack a toenail off the Haruspex or something, but it didn't happen. So over to the other scouts now. They have close combat weapons. They do not have combat knives. So that's 2, 4, 6. I'm just checking to make sure. I have 1 with a heavy bolter, 1 with a shotgun, 1 with a sniper rifle. So that is 6 dice total, 2 attacks per, hitting on a 3+. I can re-roll this too. 6, perfect. So all those are through. This is strength 4 again, toughness 11, going to be 6s to wound. So this guy turns into a 6. These do not. 2 attacks through. 0 to AP this time though, so it's got to make 3+ saves. And look at that. The chainsword didn't do it, but the little tiny combat or close combat weapons. So I don't know if it's a butter knife or something from their IMP kit or something, MRE kit. There's 2 wounds that are through. So not bad. They're putting up a fight. That's why I started with them too. I'm thinking Aethon Sean, I'm hoping can do some wounds. So it goes from 14 to 12. We're going to move over to Aethon Sean now. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. It might be Aethon Shan. Not sure. It's Sean, I think. S-H-A-A-N. Anyways. Here we go. So these are the Claws of Severex. He's not a very good model. He looks cool, but fuck, like, strength 5. It's twin linked, yes. This is not a battle for the Raven Guard, though. They're not supposed to fight, like, face-to-face. They're supposed to use a lot of stealth and subterfuge and stuff, but this is where they've been placed, and they were teamed up with the Salamanders to try to kill these Tyranids. So here we go. Fuck it. They gotta get in there, and they gotta do it, right? All right. Let's go. Hitting on 2+. Also, I can reroll Oath of Moment. And holy fuck, I needed that. We got a couple of snake eye in there. Don't want any of the snake eye. All right, 2+. Another one. Fuck. Another one. All right. Another one, literally. Anyways, okay. So strength 5, toughness 11. This is doubled up, so it's going to be 6s to wound. It's twin link though. I can reroll this, and at the moment it's going to give me an addition of 1 to the wound roll. So looking for 6s. Oh, there we go. I was just starting to talk shit about him, and he rolls 3 6s. I can reroll this because they're twin linked. Another 6. That was a 6. That's a 6. This would turn into a 4. This would turn into a 2. So those 2 do fall off. 4 attacks are through though. All 6s. -2 to AP. That's going to be 5+ for the Haruspex. And you know what? Not bad. They are fighting until the very end here, and their chapter master is leading the way. I just saw it here. Chapter master of the Raven Guard. So part of his keywords. He is a epic hero and a chapter master. So these are through, and it is 2 damage per. So we have 2, 4, 6 wounds. It goes from 12 down to 6. So Aethon Sean with those Claws of Severex, the mastercrafted lightning claws, have done some pretty good damage. Only thing that sucks now is that the Haruspex is going to be able to fight back. I am going to allocate wounds to the Scout Squad first, but this can spill over. And this thing is a melee beast. So the Ravenous Maw, 14 attacks, strength 7, -1 to AP, 2 damage, and then extra attacks, Shoveling Claws, 4 attacks, 14 strength, -2 to AP, and the damage is D6 + 1. So even if I roll poorly here, I think this thing's gonna kill these guys outright, but let's see. I'm not gonna throw the towel in yet. They are elite Space Marines. They are superhuman, genetically created creatures. 14 attacks, hitting on a 3+. Just gonna see the abilities too. Nothing that's gonna help it out, but it does have the damaged 1 to 5 wounds remaining. So if they brought it down to 5, it would have had a harder time hitting, but it's still at 6 wounds. So we're looking for 3s here. It can't reroll. It's not twin length, so I'm going to pluck these out. And a lot of them are through. That might be enough there. We'll see. Strength 7 against our toughness of 4. This is going to be 3s to wound. And are you guys seeing that? I'm not seeing anything below a 3. So that means that every single one of these attacks has gone through. I'm going to use these dice to save for our Scout Squad and also Aethon Shan. Aethon Shan does have a 4+ invulnerable, so if there's any 4s here, I will try to allocate those to him, and then the Scouts will take the remainder. Don't know if that's the rules. I don't care. I'm going to give these guys a bit of a fighting chance. So this is -1 to AP. It is going to be a 5+ save for the Scouts because they do not have an invulnerable. They usually have a 4. And then Aethon Shan is going to take any of those 4s as his invulnerable. So here we go. Looking for 5+ and 4+. Okay, so these are good. These are all through for sure. Not a bad roll. So we've got a bunch of 5s, 6s. These are all through though. It is 2 damage per. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8 wounds, which is exactly what is left for our Scouts here. They have 2 wounds per. None were wounded before that, so they have perished. Aethon Shan is still alive, and he is facing down the Shoveling Claws next of the Haruspex. So the Shoveling Claws are 4 attacks, hitting on a 3+. And I'm going to get Aethon Shan's profile up here. He can't fight back at this point. So we're looking for 3s. 3 of those are through. These 3. It is strength 14 versus toughness 4. This is going to be 2s to wound. All of those have wounded. It's a -2 to AP, which would usually bring Mr. Shan up to a -5, but he has his invulnerable of 4+. So we're going to be rolling here. Need 4s for him. And he's saved 2. Pretty awesome. 1 is through. This is D6 + 1. And Aethon Shan has 4 wounds left. So let's see. Fuck. That's it. So 3 plus the 1 damage. Aethon Shan has also fallen. The Haruspex has finished him. The Haruspex is not going to have to do an additional attack after that during the turn. So that is it for the Raven Guard's turn 3 of wave 3. This moves back over to the Tyranid. It's going to be a very quick move. I will show you guys that in just a sec. Get her the tray for a while, and then we're going to do the range of the Tyrannofex and likely the range of the Malceptor. So I'll show you guys that in just a sec. So there's the Haruspex. It was wounded actually quite well. So if Aethon Shan had maybe some Primaris Reaver Marines with him or something, they may have done some more damage, but it was brought from its initial 14 down to 6 wounds, which is pretty good. Those lightning claws that he has, the claws of Severex, are great. His range weapon, again, trash, but this is starting to look like a sweep for the Tyranid. I'm really hoping we're going to have at least a Raven Guard model left. The Malceptor is going to do a ranged attack. I'm not going to get into hand-to-hand combat. The range on it is just a better attack. There's only 3 scouts left. They do each have 2 wounds, but we'll see. And then we do have our Tyrannofex here with the flesh borer hives coming out of its arms. Newer model for me. I picked this up. I have the rupture cannon that you guys saw in the previous battles to crack the harder armor. This might be enough to finish off the Eliminators. They do have 2 wounds apiece as well. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to get to the tray, and we're going to finish this up because this is the last turn of the game. So if any Raven Guards survive here, that does mean that there's at least been an Imperium model that survived. They're going to get, you know, airlifted out of here by a big Thunderhawk or Thunderhawk. I think that's what they're called. And then reinforcements are going to come down here and just absolutely crush the planet. But if these guys all die, there's no one to send that message via the communications beacon that's right here. So we're going to see how that goes. But over to the dice tray, we're going to do the range here. The Raven Guard can now only wait and see what happens, 100% reactive, and the Tyranid have the advantage and the range and line of sight. The end of the battle is nigh. So this is going to be the Malceptor fighting against the Scout Squad first. There's only 3 scouts left. They do each have 2 wounds. This thing does have a d6 plus 3 attack. It is a 3+ to hit, strength of 10, -2 to AP, and anything that gets through all of that is going to be damage 3. These scouts are not well armored. We've covered that a few times this battle, but let's see how this goes. So we're going to roll our attack dice first, see how many attacks we're actually going to get. And that is the worst case scenario for our Imperium models. So that is a d6 roll of 6 plus a 3. So I'm going to grab my 6 dice that were rolled, and we're adding 3 to that as per the weapons profile. So the Psychic Overload, this is hitting on a 3+. Just going to check its abilities too, see if it's got anything that it can do. Yeah, I didn't follow that rule. It's got that encephalic diffusion. I totally forgot, and it's very hard to say. I was trying to say it last battle. 3 pluses. So a few did fall off. There's no rerolls here. Those are through. So about half fell off. Strength 10, toughness 4, 2s to wound. And all those are through. This is a -2 to AP. I'm going to use this as the Scout's save. That is now a 6+ save. Because of that 4+ armor they have on, so looking for 6s. Holy shit. They got some pretty good saves there. That's pretty cool. So there were 3 attacks that were saved. They either like blocked them or jumped out of the way. These, however, are through. And that is 3 6 wounds. That is enough to kill them. So that is the end of our Scout Squad. They had 2 wounds apiece, 3 models. That equals 6. They are finished. Moving them over to the casualty table for the Imperium models. So all that we have left here are the Eliminators that are staring down the Tyrannofex. And I made sure to put this type of Tyrannofex in because it does have the best weapons to take care of later armored troops. And that is the Flesh Borer Hive. So it has not moved. This, I don't think, is going to end well either. Flesh Borer Hive is 20 attacks, hitting on a 3+, strength 5, 0 to AP, 1 damage, so that's not too bad, but it's twin linked. So if I screw up any of the wound rolls for it, I can roll again. It's going to be tough to screw up the hit roll, though. We'll see what happens, but it's a 2+ because of the heavy bonus for that weapon. So we're looking for usually 3 pluses. This is now 2 pluses because it has not moved. So the heavy ability is locked in. And a few 1s. 1, 2, 3. Do you guys see any more 1s? I don't think so. Those are all 2s. Those have all shot. So all the flesh borers pretty much blasted out of the legs of this thing. It is strength 5, toughness 4, 3s to wound, and I can reroll. And I'm going to need to. So I'll pull these out. Anything that wasn't a 3 or higher. Doing this with one hand. I have my cell phone in my other one. I don't know if that was a different dice. I couldn't see it. Those are all through. I'm going to roll over on this side for the remaining. So this is, again, it's twin link, so I can re-roll these threes. Picked up a few more, but a lot actually did not hit or did not wound. This might be enough still. So we're going to grab these. It is that, oops, I'll just grab an extra dice here. So it is the regular save. It's 0 AP, 3 pluses. And a great roll by the eliminators. So one eliminator has lost a wound. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's possible that these guys might survive this battle and be the only ones that did. So I'm going to pick up that dice that jumped on the floor. Ooh, it came right out of the lip there. So very, very good saves. That's the 1 plus. At least it's a 0 AP, so it wasn't going to affect them as much as something like the Rupture Cannon, which is -4 to AP. There is extra attacks, though. The Stinger Salvos, so those are on its back. And that's an additional 8 attacks, so we're not through the woods yet. Let's see how this goes. It is hitting on a 3 plus. It does not have a heavy, so this is going to be 3s that I need. And some shitty rolls at the end here by the Tyranid. This might be the Emperor sort of helping out these lone eliminator marines. So 4 have gone through. It is a strength 8 versus toughness 4. So this is 2s to wound. It's doubled up. Those are all through. The Stinger Salvos, though, as well, are not armor penetrating. So it's a 0 AP for the Stinger Salvos. This is going to be a regular 3 plus save by the eliminators. That wasn't as good. Ay. So we had 1 save. 2 Marines are dead. So there was 1 wound allocated there previously. That Marine has died. And then there's 2 wounds per. So the other Marine is also dead. There is, however, no more attacks that can come from the Tyrannofex. It is done. All of the other models have fired. I'm going to pull this off and show you guys our lone survivor. It is a Raven Guard Eliminator Sergeant. There he is. Pretty much fresh. He saw all of his buddies get killed around him, but he is alive. He was able to survive the Stinger Salvos and the Fleshboar Hive, and he's going to get airlifted out of here, and this is going to be an Imperium victory at a very high cost. He is the lone surviving model for the last battle of our first surrounded series. So we've seen a ton of armies go through. Ultramarines, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Imperial Fists, Crimson Fists, Black Templar, Salamanders, and Raven Guard. And this is the only time that one model has survived. They were able to kill that one Screamer Killer on the Salamander side there with the Eradicator Marines. All of the other big models are still alive. Some of them were wounded though, so the Space Marines put up a fight to make sure that lone surviving Marine was going to make it through. That is it for Finnigan 40K Surrounded series this time around. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a really cool way to play like a single battle. I've done it a couple other times too. If you guys want to see the Last Stand series, I do my narrative crusades. We've had Fight Force 4, not as popular, but still kind of fun. That pits a whole bunch of different medium weight and heavyweight models against each other. And then this was an absolutely amazing one. It just came to me one day. I said, how about we just surround these guys with waves and waves of Tyranid and see who does the most casualties, who has the most survivors. And sadly, the Salamanders are at the bottom. They had an incredible first wave, first turn, but after that, it kind of went downhill really quick. Raven Guard also, I would say, are basement. They're second last. And then we had some pretty crazy stuff for our Imperial Fists, Dark Angels. But yeah, if you guys want to check those videos out, and this is the first one you're watching, we have the other 3 videos before this for the Surrounded series. As I mentioned as well, I am planning to do a Khornate Berserker narrative campaign. I have never done an enemy force narrative campaign, so that's going to be super interesting. At first for me, I usually do my Imperium, so I've done Cadian Shock Troops, and I've done Battle Sisters. Don't know when we're going to get that going because the narrative is a big thing to plan. I have to get all the armies set up. I have to get all the points down. Have to make sure that we have some pretty cool battle ideas. but it'll come in time. Other projects on the go too. It looks like my Finnigan Productions cinema side might be kicking back in there. We've got some ideas going with scripts and stuff. Want to do another Star Trek TOS fan film. If you guys want to see some of our other stuff, finniganproductions.ca. And all of these videos are also on the website there under the 40K tab. Finnigan 40K, you guys can check everything out. To finish this one up, we will go back in one more time on our Lone Survivor. Going to show you guys the casualties for the Imperium. Really, really sad this time. Tons of units killed. Vulcan Hestan, Eradicators, Aggressors, Infernus Marines, 2 Scout Squads, Aethon Shan, and 2 of the Eliminator Marines all dead. So pretty much 95-97% of the Imperium force went down this time. Their kill tally, the worst for the last round as well, I think. They were able to kill the Screamer Killer, do some wounds on the others. The second round as well, not great. Raveners, Von Ryan's Leapers, Tyrant Guard. That first wave, though, was the best. That's the best I've seen by any forces so far. And that was mostly the Salamanders pulling that weight with their torrent weapons. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow. I do this for fun. I don't want your money. My job has gotten a little less stressful, but this is a great way on a Friday night just to finish everything up. I'm going to edit this guy up, get it out there, and we'll be back for more when we're ready. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.